Chapter 76. The ability of the Parasite Queen. There is one and only one. Very similar to the Queen Mother, but not as powerful as the Queen Mother. Reproduce. Follow the will of the Master. The parasitic queen bowed her head slightly. There was a cold response. Then spread your hands and place them steadily on your abdomen. On the smooth and flat belly, a layer of vibration gradually appeared at the belly button area. Not long after, a small group of white rice worm eggs are discharged from it. Obviously, this is not a scar left by the umbilical cord falling off like in humans. Instead, it is a special cavity evolved specifically for laying eggs. Fine. It's still within the acceptable range. Qin Tian let out a sigh of relief. Previously, he was a little worried that the parasitic queen would lay eggs like humans. Turn around. Wherever his eyes passed, 50 dragon guards immediately stood up. This face. Why does it look so familiar? Qin Tian was stunned. Just now, a group of demon dragon guards knelt on the ground with their heads bowed, and their faces could not be seen. When I stand up, it immediately gave him a sense of déjà vu. Soon, Qin Tian realized something. He instinctively reached out and pretended to stroke his face. He frowned again and glanced at the Queen Mother below. So, is this evolved according to my appearance? The Creator's appearance is manifested from the origin of the planet. In general, the creatures on the planet will only perceive the will from the Creator. It is impossible to see the Creator himself with the sense of sight. But when the Queen Mother evolved to the second generation, it seems like I can see myself. At least, there will be a rough outline. This happened when the second generation queen broke out of her shell and faced herself. Qin Tian has a clear understanding of this. Upon closer inspection, something is clearly different. You can watch from a distance. He really looks very similar to me. Qin Tian observed it carefully. Think a little. Still, I didn't blame the Queen Mother for acting on her own initiative. There was no attempt to wipe out these clones. Everything has two sides. Half good, half bad. Call these people out. It is indeed easy to cause some unnecessary trouble. But it is undeniable that it will definitely play a crucial role at certain times. He waved his hand to summon a killer war bug. At the instruction of Qin Tian, the two sides immediately killed each other. Bang! A dull crash was heard. In Qin Tian's stunned eyes, the one who was knocked out, it turned out that he was not the dragon's personal guard as imagined. No command from the master. The fight between the man and the insect did not stop. The dragon's personal guard rushed forward quickly. The war bug, which had just landed and had no time to turn over, was pinned to the ground. He swung his fists down quickly. It almost left behind after images. In less than a moment, the entire body of the killer warbug turned into a pool of meat paste. Hiss so strong. Qin Tian flashed in front of the dragon's personal guard. Same with the parasite queen. The demon dragon's personal guards exude a cold and stern aura. There was a stern look on his face. A brief fight, his facial expression never changed at all. Pity, the human body is still too weak. Qin Tian looked at the bloody back of the dragon guard's hand. There were many wounds on it. This should be when attacking the killer warbug. Injured by the dense spikes on the warbug's body. Otherwise, if the dragon guard's body defense is strong enough, or give a weapon strong enough to break through the warbug's shell, Qin Tian had no doubt that there would be a one-hit kill scene. After a while, Qin Tian summoned 10 more killer warbugs. After a short fight, Qin Tian was very satisfied with the results. 1 against 10, the dragon's guards easily slaughtered a group of war insects. In addition to the dozens of cuts on the chest and back, there wasn't even any sign of exhaustion or gasping for breath. This scene, Qin Tian suddenly became interested. Why not call in a whiptail dragon? Send out the intention to attack it. Roar! The whiptail dragon roared. The huge body pounced down. Below, the dragon guards were not panicked. There was not even the slightest hint of fear. A pair of eyes as calm and steady as an eagle's. With a hint of coldness, he stared at the huge monster in the sky that was countless times larger than himself. The next moment, the dragon's personal guards kicked their feet and jumped up. He raised his fists and took the initiative to meet the attack. Boom! Followed by a louder explosion than the previous one. Watching him being blown away like a cannonball by the whiptail dragon, then he smashed the dragon's personal guard who was stuck in a deep pit on the ground. The expectant look in Qin Tian's eyes slowly faded. A bitter smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. I still take it for granted. Limited by the external human body. No matter how strong the dragon guards are, there are limits. How can it possibly be an opponent of a whiptail dragon with a combat power of 200,000? Hey! Qin Tian's eyes suddenly narrowed. In the pit, he thought that the dragon's personal guard was dead. He actually climbed up again tremblingly. Such a powerful force. Even a war bug would be beaten into a pulp. Qin Tian's eyes widened in surprise. But, after this blow, the dragon's personal guards can indeed be described as not dead, but at least they will be skinned alive. His whole body was covered in blood. It was a horrible sight. The skin on the back was completely shaved, revealing the dark grey muscles inside. No wonder the vitality is so strong. Except for the outer human skin. This inner muscle probably evolved from the fusion of the red-scaled ape's genes. The skeleton must not be the genes of ordinary humans. Otherwise it would be impossible to withstand such a powerful impact without breaking and shattering. And this recovery ability, it must be the eagle beast gene. Qin Tian came behind the demon dragon guards. In just a few moments, the large wound on his back has stopped bleeding and is slowly starting to scab over. Puff! Just at this moment, a sharp whiptail suddenly shot through the chest, coming out from the back of the dragon's personal guard. Qin Tian was startled by the sudden noise. Come back to your senses. His face immediately darkened. I was just observing and analyzing. He actually forgot to give the order to the whiptail dragon to stop. For Zerg creatures, the will of the Lord is above all else. A kill order, until death. In their limited minds, but there is no wisdom of reading people's expressions. It will not give the opponent any chance to breathe. Received this fatal blow, the body of the demon dragon guard trembled violently. The head slowly drooped. The whole person was just hanging on the whiptail. However, in the next moment, the dragon guards soon raised their heads again slowly. The tremendous energy in his body burst out. The human pupils are originally round. At this moment, the pupils have completely turned into vertical ones like those of the dragon clan. Faint dragon patterns gradually appeared all over the body. In the blink of an eye, layer upon layer of dragon scales that looked like real entities piled up. Roar a low roar like a beast, it kept coming out from the throats of the demon dragon's guards. He stared coldly at the whiptail dragon in front of him. Hands, grab the whiptail on your chest, the body muscles tightened. Exert force suddenly. Then, in Qin Tian's confused eyes, the huge whip-tailed dragon's entire body was driven by its power. As the dragon guards spun rapidly on the spot. Huge size, rapid speed, the air exploded with bursts of whistling sonic booms. Call out! This is... Qin Tian's eyes trembled. His eyes followed the whip-tail dragon that was thrown far away. The scene of a child lifting an elephant comes to mind. For a time, my heart is surging like waves. There was a long silence. Chapter 77. No wonder he suddenly became so fierce. It turned out to be at the cost of life. It has stimulated the dragon gene hidden in the body. Qin Tian closes the species information on the system interface. The dragon guards have human appearance. But after all, it is a Zerg creature born by the Queen Mother. Or, belongs to a special branch of the parasitic Zerg. Of course there are data like the killer bug and the annihilator bug. Information display. The dragon guard's combat power is not high. Only 30,000. But he has an extremely extraordinary ability. Sacrifice. The external human body frame. It is simply unable to withstand the power of the dragon gene explosion. Therefore, in evolution, the Queen Mother buried the dragon gene in her body in a latent form. Once activated, it is equivalent to extracting body functions and burning life. Also, the enormous force can also damage organs in the body that contain genes from other species. It's like an irreversible one-time burst skill. Death is inevitable in the end. The time of survival, it depends on how much dragon gene power the dragon guards activate. It can increase your combat power tenfold and last for a few seconds. It can also be slightly improved to last for more than 10 minutes or even longer. On the ground below, the dragon's personal guard had already fallen down and was dead. He was already seriously injured and dying, the force that just threw the whip-tail dragon away, squeezing and burning what was left of his life. Buzz. Following Qin Tian's will, the majestic original energy rises again on Mars. The remaining 49 dragon guards and one parasitic queen, they all sat on the ground, hugged their knees with their arms and shrunk their bodies. Waves of original energy floated over, outside of everyone's body, forming shields with a diameter of only a few dozen centimeters. According to the records, small bodies like the human race, summoning one person can only reach 500 essences at most. Compared to the whiptail dragon, this gap, tisk tisk. Qin Tian couldn't help but sigh. But even if it's just a few hundred points of origin, it is also a luxury for extraordinary and technological civilizations. According to statistics over the past century, any of these two great civilizations, the origin of the planet is in a state of depletion. The maximum is no more than 1,000. It is said that the reason why the origin of the planet of intelligent races has dried up, the fundamental reason is the birth of intelligent races. However, there are many origins of biological civilization. But no one is stupid enough to deliberately summon small species in order to seek numerical advantage. Besides, the number is really not that large. Basically, it will take a year and a half or even longer to develop. Evolve the species under your command to a certain limit. The first summon will be attempted only after the combat power is maximized. As for the Zerg civilization, consume the origin to summon a bunch of insect primitives to expand the number of ordinary insects in the outside world. In the air, the space crack has expanded to a sufficient width. Qin Tian glanced over, one by one, the origin shields began to rise. Outside world. In the space crack above where the whiptail dragon lies prone, black balls filled with rich energy rushed out rapidly one after another. A dragon guard just fell to the ground from the broken shield. Then it immediately spread around. His sharp eyes scanned everywhere and he was on full alert. Even if there is a whiptail dragon present, there is no possibility of any danger around. But protecting the master is their instinct. Not to mention, came to the outside world, their bond with the overmind is deeper. Like a whip-tailed dragon, it has almost reached the level of unity of mind and spirit. At the moment of leaving the space crack, they sensed what the master was thinking. At the same time, I also have a deeper understanding of my responsibilities. Not long. The space cracks closed. Qin Tian opened his eyes. Looking at the group of dragon guards and the parasitic queen around him, he pointed to the package he had prepared in advance on the back of the whiptail dragon. There are clothes inside, put them on. Yes, uncle. Hearing this, a hint of enjoyment appeared on Qin Tian's face. This feeling of almost telepathic connection is really very comfortable. He didn't even have to give specific instructions. This group of subordinates naturally changed their way of addressing him and stopped calling him master. Wait until everyone has finished getting dressed. Qin Tian took the parasitic queen and mounted the whiptail dragon. He then glanced at a group of dragon guards who were smearing mud on their faces to cover their faces. He shook his head and smiled. There was no need to waste any more time talking. Return to Linen City. Qin Tian did not return to the mansion. Instead, he took the parasitic queen for a walk around the city. I found a shop called Lington Pavilion and walked in. Usually in a business like this, most of them are businesses from a big family in Zhenbei country. Sell some health-enhancing pills or longevity pills. Certainly, in Qin Tian's view, these seemingly expensive panaceas, in fact, it is no different from the Someone Jin in my memory. Peace of mind is far more important than effectiveness. In the shop, seeing a guest coming to the door, a waiter came over immediately. The short and fat shopkeeper who was sitting behind the counter counting the bills, he looked up. The body trembled. He immediately stood up hurriedly, put on a smile and invited Qin Tian and the other two into the inner hall. Obviously, he should have been one of the tens of thousands of spectators at the competition a few days ago. Meet Qin Tian, the new uncle. After ordering the servants to serve tea, the short and fat shopkeeper stood aside, bowing. Smiley asked, Master, are you here to buy elixirs? If you want any elixir, just send a servant to tell him. I will personally deliver it to your house. Why would you? I need to make a batch of special elixirs. Refine. The shopkeeper was slightly stunned. Then with a hint of embarrassment, Master, you are joking. Our shop only sells elixirs, but we don't make them. Is that so? Qin Tian picked up the teacup and took a sip. Nothing else was said. The parasitic queen standing behind him took a step forward. He coldly reached out and grabbed the shopkeeper's neck and lifted him up. Use your other hand to take out an insect egg the size of a grain of rice. The short and fat shopkeeper subconsciously wanted to struggle. But the weak force was completely unable to resist at all. The parasitic queen forcibly pried open the shopkeeper's mouth. Throw the insect eggs in. I don't care whether the other person swallows it or not. The eggs of this ancient parasite melt in your mouth. The growth cycle is extremely short. In less than a few minutes, the parasitic queen threw the short and fat shopkeeper to the ground. Turning around, he said, "Uncle, my child has awakened." Qin Tian nodded. "Put down the teacup in your hand." He closed his eyes and immersed himself in the swarm of insects. As the darkness before my eyes faded, intertwining spots of light began to flicker in the grey space. Not many. There are only a few dozen. This is the swarm consciousness network of the outside world. The light spots inside are bright, dark, strong, and weak. The brightest of these is definitely the whiptail dragon. Gathered together to form a large group, they were obviously the dragon's personal guards. The remaining one is floating alone and faintly in the distance. It must be the parasitic queen. Qin Tian cast his consciousness over, no attachment to go deeper, within this expanding point of light, on another small piece of dark space, there was only a dim, almost invisible spot of light inside. Attached to consciousness, in a flash, a scene emerged in sight. In the screen, Qin Tian saw himself. I saw the lonely and arrogant parasitic queen standing aside. And it is not as gloomy as it was when I first entered the perspective of the war bug. On the contrary, it is very clear. It is basically the same as what you see with the naked eye. It even made Qin Tian feel panic-stricken. So, is this the shopkeeper's true feeling? Even if I learned about the parasite queen's abilities on the way. But he was still a little surprised after experiencing it himself. Withdrew from consciousness. Qin Tian glanced at the parasitic queen. With the Lord's instruction, the parasitic queen immediately closed her eyes. Soon, the panic on the shopkeeper's face faded away. Replaced by a calmness like dead water. Hee. Qin Tian smiled and stood up. Came to the shopkeeper, "Slightly lower your body," once again asked, "Now, can we make a batch of special elixirs? Follow the will of the master." In the evening, Qin Tian, who had spent a whole day in Lingnan Pavilion, returned to the mansion. Uncle Wang Bo, who was summoned, walked into the hall. Bow and greet Qin Tian. "Well, I'm in a good mood today. Ben went out for a walk and bought some things." Qin Tian pointed to a large box at his feet. The box was filled with small porcelain bottles the size of a thumb. "These are the health-enhancing pills from the Lingnan Pavilion. Everyone has worked hard recently. Distribute them, 1 bottle per person." "Yes, master. Thank you for the reward." In addition, Qin Tian pointed to a larger box on the other side. "Those are longevity pills. All the big families who came to congratulate on the opening day of the government. There are also wealthy merchants and families who have presented gifts but are not eligible to attend the banquet. Tomorrow you send someone to deliver 5, no, 10 bottles to each household. Just consider it as Ben's return gift." Chapter 78. Late at night, Qin Tian sat in front of the bed. Immerse your consciousness into the swarm network. The light dot representing the parasite queen, not as bleak as it was at the beginning. The dazzling light emanating from it, almost obscuring the light of the whiptail dragon. Compared with before, it has also increased a lot. There were spots of light flashing inside. Qin Tian attached his consciousness to these light spots one by one. Different images began to appear in my sight. Some are pitch black, the host should be resting. Some keep moving. The familiar scenes in the mansion kept changing. Others fell into stillness, and the sight is sometimes closed and sometimes suddenly opened. It could be the night maid who was dozing off. Also, Qin Tian also discovered many dark perspectives belonging to insects. The picture seems to be crawling slowly, to the faces of the servants who gradually climbed onto the bed and fell asleep. Then it went in through the ears and nose. Parasite eggs do not just parasitize by being passively swallowed by humans. At a certain time, it will also hatch at the best time and actively seek out the nearest host. In conclusion, as long as you accept the elixir from Lord Qin, there is no way to escape the fate of being parasitized. This parasitism is very strong though. But there are still too many restrictions. After observing for a while, Qin Tian exited consciousness. First, the host larvae cannot be directly manipulated. The only way to control it indirectly is to let the parasitic queen drive the larvae to suppress the host's consciousness. According to Qin Tian's understanding, it is similar to how the larvae block certain brain nerves of the host and seize control of the body. But this will inevitably cause great harm to the host. This was also confirmed from the parasitic queen. Just like controlling the owner of Lington Pavilion, if this happens a few more times, he will be completely ruined. Secondly, parasitism is not undetectable. If nothing else, there are only immortal cultivators and magicians summoned by the creator of Zhenbei and Jingnan. There are countless ways and means to detect it. It can even easily sense abnormalities within the body of a damaged parasitic host. There are also technological equipment from Anton. I have to say, the technological development in Anton is very distorted. Most of the technological facilities in the country were summoned from the planet by the creator. Based on this, we can conduct further research. For example, the exploration system bound before the creator merged the planet is a good example. We can develop such high technology. But even the most basic system interconnection cannot be achieved. Otherwise, during the big competition, why is it necessary for the deans of each college to manually submit the racial evolution data of the participating colleges? Under sharing, all combat power values are clear. There will never be a phenomenon where people rely on evolutionary algebra to estimate combat power. But even if there are technological gaps and technical limitations, Qin Tian believes that there is still a medical device to check physical condition. Anyway, it is better to use as few control measures as possible. Otherwise, there are many people who are crazy because of controlling their bodies. It arouses people's vigilance, so as to conduct a large-scale physical examination, it was discovered that many people's bodies were controlled by parasites. The panic and anger caused can be imagined. Once the 4 countries investigate together, tracing the source to myself. Qin Tian shook his head and smiled bitterly. I'm afraid that by then not only will my title of devil be confirmed. I guess we have to add the prefix anti-humanity in front of it. In fact, parasitism is far from being inhumane. If it is not for the will and command of the master, the parasite larvae are like ordinary parasites. The little nutrients absorbed will not have any effect on the host. The two sides will just coexist. But people don't care about that. In endless rage, in the end, he will be condemned and attacked by everyone. It can only be used as a monitoring method at present. And it cannot be too arrogant and spread to the other 3 countries. Pingxi Kingdom has no scruples. We can quickly build a nationwide intelligence system. It is undeniable that among the creatures summoned by the creator of biological civilization, there must be some freaks out there with amazing senses of smell. But, first of all, the number must be rare. Secondly, what if you noticed it? Just a bunch of dumb people who can't speak. The next day, Qin Tian is out. Brought back the 49 dragon guards who had arrived last night. Everyone is fully armed. Wearing a ghost mask on his face, he was wearing armor, a cloak on his back and a long sword on his waist. Matching his sharp eyes and cold temperament. Just one look at it can send chills down your spine. The mask was purchased in a shop. The weapons and armor were selected from the armory in Linen City. Uncle came forward, the city lord will not and dare not fail to give face. Furthermore, the Bo Mansion has a quota of soldiers. All the needs should have been borne by the Linen City armory. Back to the mansion, Wang Bo and his servants were surprised to see a group of black dragon guards. Qin Tian made up a random excuse. As for whether to believe it or not, he doesn't care. Overnight, the host larvae are completely parasitic. The entire Earl's palace was under his absolute control. The parasitic queen monitors everyone's every move through her larvae around the clock. If anyone shows unusual behavior and dares to report it to the outside world, they will be controlled. Or, simply order the larvae to eat its brain, kill it directly. With enough power, in his own residence, Qin Tian hasn't yet taken it to the point of being covered in thin ice. From today on, you 2 are responsible for protecting the parasite queen. Always follow and await his orders. Qin Tian pointed at 2 of the black dragon guards. Yes, uncle. After the 2 of them left, Qin Tian waved his hand. A group of black dragon guards immediately scattered out. Begin to take over the defense of the entire mansion. In addition to the 2 of them who stayed by Qin Tian's side to protect him, another 10 people were responsible for guarding at a distance of 100 meters around the area. The rest were scattered throughout the palace. Finally, I can focus on developing my tribe and obtaining the origin. With the parasitic surveillance of the parasitic queen, plus the combat power of the black dragon guards. At least, in this small city of Linen, no force will be able to threaten the Bow Mansion. Qin Tian took out the crystal ball he bought on the way home. 4 in total. All of them are planets with 4th level Warcraft races. They are, Earth Attribute, Earth Ring Star. Water Attribute, Water Spirit Star. Wind Attribute, Wind Star. Metal Element, Golden Star. Qin Tian originally wanted to buy some planets with rare magical properties. For example, a dark planet like Lin Tianyang's. But there are not many such planet creators that have merged. Even less is left after the fall. Unless it is Xuxian City or Wangcheng where the Warcraft civilization is more concentrated. It is almost impossible to buy it in a city like Linan. Sinking into consciousness, Qin Tian communicated with one of the crystal balls. With a group of annihilator war bugs that had been ordered to assemble in advance, enter the space channel that has opened in front. Outside the channel, it is a lush grassland. The air was thick with humidity. It should be the water-attributed planet called Shuolingxing. Qin Tian looked around. Then he frowned. I always feel like something is wrong. Soon, then he understood. It seemed a little too quiet around here. Outside the channel exit, I didn't see any living creature. It's like a dead silent place. Wrong. I checked it before buying it. I remember that there used to be a large group of water monsters living here. Qin Tian controlled his consciousness to float upwards. Where the eye is, on the grass, not even a single magical beast was seen. There. It seems there wasn't such lush vegetation before. Qin Tian looked towards the area not far from the passage. That area and the ground that extends beyond it, there are patches of dark green aquatic plants that are more than 10 centimeters high. There's almost no end in sight. Like a green ocean. And the grass at the passage is only a few centimeters high. It forms a very sharp contrast. Most importantly, Qin Tian looked at the swarm. At this moment, the first few annihilator war bugs that emerged, they all huddled together and stopped moving forward. And stared at the seemingly empty green ocean in front of him. As if, afraid of something. Chapter 79. The word fear is used to describe the war bug. Maybe a little inappropriate. Under the will of the Lord. The swarm is fearless and unafraid of death. But there was no order from the Lord. Every living thing has the instinct to seek benefits and avoid harm. Obviously, the annihilator war bug probably sensed the danger. But there's obviously nothing underneath. Qin Tian floated down. On the ground formed by water plants, a layer of shallow water half a finger deep had accumulated. In this humid water-attributed planet. This is normal. Like the animal killer bug. Just for this moment, there were some water droplets covering the outer shell and dripping down. The most important thing is, the water is crystal clear. There is no source of crisis. Enter. Qin Tian summoned a war bug. Squeak. The annihilator war bug that was just afraid to move forward. At the moment when Qin Tian's will was issued. As if taking stimulants, it roared towards the sky, spread its wings, and flew forward fiercely. Qin Tian's eyes were fixed on the figure of the war bug. Initial, nothing unusual. Until Qin Tian ordered the annihilator war bug to descend to a certain altitude. Suddenly, ripples appeared in the water. The next moment, crash. The water surface in front of the war bugs, like a huge wave rising up, the entire water layer suddenly rose and then rolled back. It completely wrapped up the destroyer bug in mid-air. Not liquid water. Qin Tian frowned. The huge wave did not splash down through the body of the war insect as imagined. Instead, it presents a momentary state of stillness. And, fast curing. Rapidly condensed into amber-like features. What the hell is this? Qin Tian looked at the towering giant amber in surprise. This should be a kind of biological organism. But such a wonderful ability. It's really beyond people's imagination. As time goes by, amber seems to be baked at high temperature. Getting drier and drier. Tiny cracks gradually appeared on the amber. The cracks are getting bigger. Final, bang. A crisp sound, the whole huge amber, the annihilator war bugs trapped inside collapsed with a loud bang. Shattered into pieces all over the ground. After a while, the pieces of amber began to melt gradually. Not as thin as water as before, instead, it forms clumps of mucus-like substance. They began to wriggle and fit together, finally, it condensed into a transparent jelly-like creature like slime. Breakdown. No, it's division and fusion. Qin Tian was slightly startled. Immediately attach your consciousness to a destroyer warbug, order the warbugs to approach slowly. Facing the enemy approaching, the slime turned around and took a look. Not panicking at all. While slowly swallowing the food in his mouth, one side of the body is flowing like water. Not long after, it turned into clear water again. Qin Tian controlled the annihilator warbug to land on the ground and continue moving forward. Stop just outside the shallow water area. Try to get the warbug to stick out its long beak. The front is calm as usual. None of the expected attacks occurred. Qin Tian no longer hesitated. Immediately order the annihilator warbug to drink a sip of water at the edge. Bang! Before flying back to the passage, the annihilator warbug spat out the water in its mouth. Maybe it is separated from the body, this little ball of water solidified a little. It was wriggling on the ground like mud. This thing. Is it too strong or too weak? Exit the warbug consciousness, Qin Tian floated down curiously and took a look. Say it is strong. Even the weakest creatures, you can also remove part of its body just as easily. You could say it's weak. Once you get deeper into the shallow waters it becomes covered by the water it raises, there is almost no chance of survival. The water flows into the body through the holes. Then it kills its prey by quickly solidifying and shattering it. A gene that has the ability to divide. For the evolution of warbugs, it doesn't seem to have any effect. But, it is also an extremely special and rare gene. Order one of the annihilator bugs to take it back to the slime organization. After conveying the intention to explore in other directions to the swarm of aerial fighters, Qin Tian returns to Mars. The communication opened up space channels to the other 3 Warcraft planets. After the exploration mission was assigned, Qin Tian flashed back into the penalty area, looked down at the woman standing beside the Queen Mother. Dominate. Qin Tian responded, without further ado, the direct burst of will draws upon the origin of Mars to open a space channel to the outside world. The woman who was curled up in a ball and wrapped in the original energy was sent out. Took control of the Bow Mansion. He doesn't have to be like before. He specifically seeks out remote mountains to summon his creatures. Return to the outside world. Qin Tian looked at the woman who had just gotten up from the ground. Command, leave for Wuhan County immediately. Spread your children as best you can. I hope before I set out for my fiefdom, control and understand every blade of grass and every tree there, woman. Before Qin Tian left yesterday, the second parasitic queen who orders the mother queen to reproduce. After that, Qin Tian summoned 5 dragon guards. Conveyed the will to protect the parasitic queen and go to Wuhan County together. If it weren't for safety reasons, he didn't need to summon any extra parasite queens. First, 1 parasite queen is more than enough for now. Secondly, just like what is happening right before my eyes, it is bound to divide their few defensive forces. The parasite queen is not a fighting species evolved specifically for killing. It's okay for some ordinary people. The creatures that rely on the creator are no match for them. In case of death, the parasite larvae it breeds will get out of control. Unless the master intervenes and takes control. But that's not realistic. It is impossible for Qin Tian to stare at the Zerg network all day to collect intelligence. Qin Tian suddenly felt something. Immediately sink into consciousness and enter Mars. Welcome. Welcome to the Lord. What is it? Qin Tian flashed to the sky above the Queen Mother and asked. Just outside, he sensed the Queen Mother's strong fluctuations in consciousness. The voice that came was trembling with a clear hint of trembling. This is the first time. My lord. Slave, I have found a way to speed up the reproduction of the tribe. The Queen Mother raised the dragon head. The light in his eyes couldn't conceal his excitement. In fact, the Queen Mother has never stopped experimenting with the fusion and adjustment of gene sequences. This will allow the next generation to evolve at a higher level and improve reproduction efficiency. Even if the price is its demise. The parasitic Zerg will not allow 2 queens to coexist. The next generation is born, it will indicate that the previous generation of queen is destined to be eliminated. But there is no such thing as living in disgrace among the Zerg. In their thinking, only the continuation and development of the entire ethnic group. The next generation of Queen Mother. No. No. Master. The slave, may have discovered a new way of development. The Queen Mother seemed to be so excited that she was a little incoherent. He lowered his head and looked forward. Qin Tian followed the Queen Mother's gaze. See that transparent body wriggling like mucus. Shocked, he said, Slime's organization. Yes, Master. The genes of this species are very likely to enable our race to develop for more than 2 generations. The Queen Mother stopped talking, sending out an extremely complex message of consciousness. Hiss. Digest this information. Qin Tian's eyes suddenly widened. His breathing almost stagnated. If all goes well, it's just like the message conveyed by the Queen Mother. The only thing he could think of was, just 4 words, unlimited explosion. Chapter 80. Above the restricted area. Qin Tian closed his eyes. Force yourself to calm down the surging emotions. From the moment the parasitic Zerg was born, the problem of slow population growth, it bothered him all the time. But for this, he was helpless. Hosting the unique consciousness network of the Zerg, determines their particularity. All individuals are concentrated in one network. Obey the will of the only supreme being. In the original system, the ruler of the entire tribe is the Queen Mother who reproduces offspring. But the supremacy of the Creator, let Qin Tian take over the position of the Mother Queen, become the new master. The Queen Mother becomes just an ordinary reproductive mother in the group. When Qin Tian left the planet, all swarm consciousness will return to the Queen Mother. Want to improve the reproduction efficiency of the population? In addition to evolving the next generation of Queen Mother to a higher level, the only way is to increase the number of Queen Mothers. But this is obviously contrary to the sole will of the Zerg. If Qin Tian forcibly reproduces multiple queens, once you leave the planet, the swarm consciousness cannot transfer unity. It will cause extreme chaos and even collapse. This is an unsolvable disease. However, what Qin Tian never expected was that the weird genes of a slime. It actually completely changed the special structural system of the parasitic Zerg. Unlimited explosion. Infinite reproduction. Qin Tian stared at a huge white insect egg that had just been laid by the queen. If all goes well, infinitely expand the entire ethnic group in a short period of time. It's not nonsense. It's not an exaggeration. Time is passing quickly. I don't know how long I waited. Under Qin Tian's expectant look, and the rough eyes of the Queen Mother. In the wormhole, a hybrid insect slowly crawled out. It has a body structure similar to that of a killer warbug. But it is several times larger. And it drags a huge abdomen behind its tail. Is it possible? Qin Tian looked at the Queen Mother. My lord, I don't know. Qin Tian nodded. I didn't ask any more questions. After all, this is the Queen Mother's first attempt to break the inherent system of the ethnic group. Whether it can be accomplished or not, it depends on what kind of war bugs the killer queen will give birth to next. This queen insect is a single insect mother evolved from the Queen Mother. To be precise, just a simple grow room. It does not have the ability to absorb and fuse genes and give birth to and reproduce the clan like the Queen Mother. Otherwise, she is a ruler at the level of the Queen Mother. It simply provides the nutrients needed for the growth of insect eggs. Just like what Qin Tian knows as surrogacy. Below. The Queen Mother's body trembled. Expel an unformed killer warworm embryo. The Queen immediately stepped forward after receiving the order. Quickly swallow the embryo into your mouth. Sent into the cultivation chamber inside the body. I don't know how long I waited. Finally, the queen insect began to lay killer insect eggs. A few days later, the eggs hatch, a larva emerged. Call. At the moment the larvae hatch, Qin Tian let out a long sigh. The Queen Mother also showed a hint of relaxation after being nervous. The man and the dragon looked at each other. Success. The light spot of consciousness that just appeared in the Zerg network. There is no rejection at all. I blended into the group naturally. The war bug embryo swallowed by the queen, it is the product of the Queen Mother's fusion of the slime's genes. It has extremely strong splitting and replicating capabilities. Almost as long as there is an unlimited supply of nutrients, it can split rapidly without limit. New embryos are formed. Then gradually grow into eggs. The queen's daily output is about 1,000 pieces. 1 month later, the first batch of 1,000 killer war bugs have grown. Every day thereafter, there will be 1,000 war bugs, 1 year. That's 330,000. Qin Tian's eyebrows twitched wildly. In fact, abandon the Queen Mother's evolutionary level. The biggest factor hindering the development of ethnic groups. It is not the time for the war bugs to grow up. It's the gestation period of the Queen Mother. Everything in the world has its own laws of development. Even if the species has evolved to the most extreme level, it is also impossible to directly eliminate the gestation process. It will only reduce and shorten. For example, the previous generation of queen mother bred a batch of war insect eggs. It takes a month for the eggs to grow slowly in the body. The second generation queen mother who can withstand stronger energy consumption, it was increased to 10 days. But division is different from gestation. It can almost be done continuously. Most importantly, the queen of insects is not subject to a single restriction like the queen mother. They can completely reproduce as a special ethnic group. One queen worm can add 330,000 war worms in 1 year. Once the scale is developed, it will reach millions or even tens of millions every day. The growth rate is simply impossible to measure. Thinking of this, Qin Tian immediately conveyed the order to the mother queen. Strive to breed 3 generations of annihilator queens. The first queen was just an attempt. The experiment was successful. With this template, there will be no problem in evolving various branch groups of insects. Follow the will of the master. The queen mother closed her eyes and began to reproduce. Qin Tian glanced at the currently somewhat empty restricted area. As you can imagine, after a few days outside, years on the planet, how terrifying will the size of the ethnic group here be? The rapid increase in numbers, plus the huge consumption of the queen insect, meaning a massive amount of food. But this is exactly what Qin Tian is least worried about. Every planet outside the open space channel outside the restricted area. The city will be its food supply base. Outside world, Earl's Court, Qin Tian just opened his eyes, then I saw the parasitic queen standing solemnly on the side. I was originally in a good mood because of the development of the ethnic group. It dissipated in an instant. The parasitic queen constantly monitors each host through her parasitic larvae. Primary responsibility. Of course, it is for the safety of the master. Any related words such as Qin Tian, Bo Yet or Bofu. The parasitic queen will immediately possess the larvae's vision, monitor and watch the people talking in real time throughout the entire process. If it is harmless, it will be automatically filtered. But since the parasitic queen appeared in front of him, it means that the matter at least affects one's own interests. Or even, life-threatening. Explain. Qin Tian frowned and spoke. My lord, the envoys from the 4 kingdoms gathered in the capital a few days ago, intending to divide up Zhongzhou. Dividing Zhongzhou. Yes, I have basically confirmed this, but I have not yet found out in what form. Them. Qin Tian ignored the words that the parasite queen said. Stand up, he tilted his head slightly. Looking at the parasitic queen in front of me, Road, want to share my land. Chapter 81. Regarding the fief of Wuhan County, Qin Tian was initially resistant. But as Lin Tianyang said, there are pros and cons. The advantage is that the emperor is far away. I can relax a little. As for safety issues, now that we have the whiptail dragon and the dragon guards, coupled with the parasitic queen's gradually expanding huge intelligence system. Even if a national war really broke out, it is also enough to get the news in advance and evacuate safely. And now that the 4 countries are sitting at the negotiating table, this means the chances of a war are slim. The benefits of Wuhan County's fiefdom, it is even more prominent and magnified countless times. Far away from the Shikoku region, the entire Wuhan County, under the control of the parasitic queen, he could have been more unbridled. Summon more dragon guards. Or, a dragon guard corps of hundreds of thousands of people. Even, simply summon the Zerg queen, it bred an overwhelming swarm of insects and directly destroyed the 4 countries. Uncle, Lin Tianyang wants to see you. A servant reported. Oh, what a coincidence, just when I thought of him, he came. Qin Tian waved his hand. Not long after, Lin Tianyang appeared in sight. I don't know if this guy is just trying to show off. I really have a misophobia. Every time I saw him, he was dressed in clean white without a speck of dust on him. In the sun, it's so bright that it's a bit blinding. Uncle. Lin Tianyang stood outside the door. He looked at the armored soldier with a ghost face who was blocking him. The dragon guards took over the defense of the Bose mansion. Even the parasitic servants were not allowed. No one is allowed to approach within 10 steps of the master at will. What about an outsider? Come in. Until Qin Tian's voice came, the soldier with a ghost face then moved aside to make way. After entering the door, looking at the 2 grimace guards standing behind Qin Tian, wearing the same attire, he felt the 2 pairs of cold gazes that followed him closely and stared at him. Lin Tianyang just felt a chill on his back. Especially as I get closer to Qin Tian, the chill grew stronger. Lin Tianyang had to stop at a distance. He put on a shy smile and bowed, Master Fuekang, I congratulate you, Master. Congratulations, Master. Oh? Why are you so happy? Qin Tian pointed to a seat and made a gesture of invitation. Lin has received news that the four countries will not engage in large-scale conflict over the Central Plains. At least, there will be no war within the next 2 to 3 years. Is the news true? Of course, otherwise how could Lin come here rashly? Lin Tianyang said confidently, the four nations should send their creators to decide the boundaries of Zhongzhou through a racial war on the planet. Race war. Qin Tian glanced at the parasitic queen next to him. The parasite queen nodded slightly. So, parasitized, but I didn't get this news. It can only explain one thing. Lin Tianyang probably rushed over as soon as he received the news. I have to say. Qin Tian admired Lin Tianyang very much. Assess the situation, and familiar with people's hearts. I know that I don't like those twists and turns, whether overt or covert. Just be straightforward with yourself and open your heart. An upright image. Just like his words and actions during the competition and the day after the opening of the government. Even sending an undercover agent was done deliberately. Knowing that it is impossible to win me over, so they changed it to making friends. He was always extremely diligent and had no other thoughts. This can be seen from the fact that they immediately reported the news from Zhongzhou. Certainly, all this is based on sufficient qualifications to make friends. Lost his title of Earl, without the title of Demon, without the future's sharp edge coat, nothing. He is a son of a great family in the royal city, the creator of the Dragon Clan. Why would I bother to curry favor with you when I have nothing better to do? Are you sure? Qin Tian asked. That's basically correct. This is Zhenbei's proposal, and Jingnan has also agreed. My country and Andong have basically no right to object, unless they want to start a national war, but that's impossible. We are still going through the official negotiation process, and the specific date and method have not yet been determined. Thank you, Brother Lin, for letting me know. My lord, you are too kind. It is just a small matter. There is no need to thank me. Lin Tianyang forced a smile. He glanced at the two soldiers with ghost faces. He immediately stood up and bowed, Lin is busy, so I won't bother you anymore. Always being stared at by two cold eyes, it almost made him feel very uncomfortable. Brother Lin, take care. Watched Lin Tianyang leave. Qin Tian reached out and rubbed his head in pain. Technological civilization, there are also magic civilization and immortal cultivation civilization. This. How should I fight? Not surprisingly, in fact, there is no possibility of any accidents at all. Pingzi Kingdom will definitely be defeated. Various high-powered weapons in technological civilization, fighting biological civilization is like playing. Not to mention those magicians and immortal cultivators whose individual combat power is extremely terrifying and can destroy the world with a wave of their hands. Best results, the Pingzi state lost 1 or 2 cities. Or it is very likely that he will withdraw from the battle for territory in Zhongzhou. This means that the fiefdom of Wuhan County, which was not even warm in his hands yet, no more. Even if I play myself, there is no chance of winning at all. With such a small population before, it is estimated that they would be crushed directly. It's better now that we have the queen insect. We can form a certain scale, but we will just struggle a little bit. Qin Tian thought helplessly. This is not about boosting others' morale. The 4 nations divided their territories according to the races under the creator. It must be that all the strong ones come out together. The problem is, it has only been more than 3 months since I merged the planets. Less than 100 years had passed on the planet. How could they possibly be able to compete with a race that has been developing for tens of thousands of years by integrating planets for decades? There is no comparison at all. If the development time is equal, he can rest assured without any psychological pressure. Or, not to mention tens of thousands of years, even if he is given 1,000 years to develop, with the current terrifying reproduction rate of the Zerg, it's not so far-fetched to simply wipe out the entire planet of those ancient races. Master, Xiong Hanlin wants to see you. Qin Tian waved his hand and asked the servant to bring Fatty Xiong in. Compared with the previous Lin Tianyang, facing the gazes of the 2 dragon guards, Fatty Bear is even worse. My legs have been shaking since I entered the door. This is not an exaggeration. The dragon guards are a fusion of various Zerg and savage genes. It also has the powerful dragon gene blessing. The feeling it gives, it's like a ferocious beast that may pounce on and devour anyone at any time. In fact, this is true. For those who approach the Lord, the dragon guards always hold the hilt of the sword. The whole body is tense, be prepared to block all factors that may bring danger to the master. Uncle Fukong. I haven't seen you for a long time. You have gained a lot of weight. Qin Tian smiled. Ever since I finished the reward matter he asked me to do. Qin Tian deliberately distanced himself from Fatty Xiong. It's not that he was ruthless. Others run around for you. Ignore people after the matter is done. It was precisely for the sake of gaining that little bit of affection that he did this. By his status and title, most people who get involved will never have a good ending. Besides, anyone who can get close to him, there is also a price to pay. Thank you for your praise, sir. Stop standing, sit down. Thank you, uncle. Fatty Bear straightened up. I guess my butt just touched the seat. There was an awkward look on his face, as if he wanted to say something but couldn't. Just tell me what you want to say. You know, Benber doesn't like to beat around the bush. Yes, sir. Fatty Bear licked his slightly dry lips. And dawdled a little, he looked at Qin Tian and said, Master, I want to come to the master's mansion to work. Qin Tian was stunned. He was just thinking about it. Fatty, you should know something about this, so are you sure you want to follow me? I want to follow my uncle and make a name for myself. In fact, it would be nice if you could get a good job after you graduate. After that, Qin Tian felt that it was a bit too ruthless. Moreover, the mansion really needs someone who is good at managing finances like Fatty Bear. You can't leave all mundane matters to your dragon guards. Pause, he also said, well, you should think about it carefully. If you really want to come, Benbo will not refuse. Yes, thank you, uncle. Oh, by the way, there is something I really need you to do. Please give your orders, my lord. I want to buy some technology and super civilization planets. I have been searching for Linen City for a few days but have not found anything suitable. Technological planet. Fatty Bear didn't wait for Qin Tian to finish. He spoke first, Master, my father went to Andong a few days ago and brought back one. He wanted to sell it to the Planetary Chamber of Commerce and make a profit. If Master needs it. Master, please wait a moment. I'll be back soon. Half an hour later. Fat Bear brought back a dark green crystal ball. Uncle, my father told me that this is a human planet, and its technology seems to be at level 3, but I haven't had the chance to see it yet, so I don't know if it's true or not. Well, go find Steward Wang and get the money from the treasury yourself. Yes, uncle. After the fat man left, Qin Tian immediately sank into consciousness and returned to Mars. Communication opens up space channels. Different from biological civilization. According to the level classification, Level 3 technological civilization, we have almost entered space and started exploring the universe. According to Qin Tian's understanding, not much different from the previous life, maybe even higher. Chapter 82. Outside the restricted area. In front of a newly opened space passage, Qin Tian turned and looked at the animal warrior bug soaring in the air. He glanced at the killer war bugs that were entering and leaving the star of 10,000 beasts. At last, I gave up the idea of bringing the war bugs. A planet with intelligent species is different from a planet with biological species. They suddenly saw a huge monster that was beyond their understanding. It will inevitably cause panic in the whole world. This will cause you to be alert and cause you unforeseen troubles. Outside the channel, it is a mountain forest. Not the wild mountains and wilderness, like the suburbs. At the end of sight, you can clearly see the towering skyscrapers. Scarlet Star. It really is as its name suggests. Qin Tian looked at the red building in his sight. Same with biological civilization. Whether it is technology or extraordinary civilization, the names of the planets are all given by the creator according to his own preferences. Or it can be randomly named based on the characteristics of the planet. While sizing up, Qin Tian suddenly heard a faint laughter. Float in the direction of the sound. On the north side of a small hill, Qin Tian saw two people cuddling together. This. Is it the human race on Scarlet Star? Qin Tian came to the front of the two people curiously. Affected by various factors such as the planet's geographical environment. Among intelligent races, it is rare to see humans who are so similar to those on Lan Yang Star and in the outside world, Desya. According to the creator's definition. Generally speaking, as long as there is a head on the shoulders, hands, and feet, the facial organs are quite they can all be collectively referred to as the human race. Just like these two people in front of us. She is 2 meters tall but extremely thin. The skin is like red-hot iron. No hair, the forehead is high and raised. The eyes form a slit like when a normal person squints. The nose is also only as big as a thumb. A hole on top. But, the characteristics of men and women are very similar to those of humans. And from their arm-in-arms posture, and the facial expression of the woman who was reluctant but also shy and whispering, it can be easily seen. These two people. Oh, you're adjusting. Look at the movements of the male's hands. If I were a few minutes late, I'm afraid the two of them are about to get straight to the point. Qin Tian raised his head and looked in the direction of the space channel. Squeak! A suppressed sharp scream, interrupting the man below from further action. Far away, a group of killer war bugs rushed over. 2 of them pounced, the 2 unlucky wild mandarin ducks, who were screaming in terror, were dragged towards the passage. Disperse! Qin Tian sent down a will. The remaining killer war bugs immediately scattered. Perform a small sweep around the passage. After a while, all the war bugs returned. After confirming that there are no other hidden dangers, Qin Tian controlled his consciousness and floated towards the city in his sight. Gradually, some means of transportation began to appear on the ground. It is very similar to the car in Qin Tian's memory. But there are no wheels. The entire thing was flying suspended a few centimeters above the ground. It's like a device similar to magnetic levitation. Maybe it also has something to do with the road being paved with red stuff. Follow the road to the city. All you can see is the hustle and bustle of traffic. The streets were also crowded with people. Some are in a hurry to go to work, some walk slowly as if they were strolling. Basically, the life of the human race is pretty much the same. After floating around and observing for half a day, Qin Tian left the city. Just like the plant civilization under the biological civilization branch, there are also huge differences in the levels of technological civilization. According to the classification of the creator of scientific and technological civilization, any planet where technology is born can be called a first-level technological civilization. A level 2 technological civilization must at least develop powerful lethal weapons. For example, the nuclear weapons in Qin Tian's memory. Separated from the planet on which they live, start exploring outer space, it is the minimum standard for the 3rd level technological civilization. The next level is the 4th level technological civilization. It is necessary to have the ability to colonize other planets. So, only from the outside, it is difficult to tell what the technological level of this planet is. Only by using large numbers of war insects, only then can we make a rough estimate. But there is one thing Qin Tian can be sure of. This crimson star, it should be more towards genetic technology. Because in many buildings that look like laboratories, he saw a large number of images of various genetic structures. Return to Mars, the channel is closed. Qin Tian flashed into the penalty area. Not far from the Queen Mother, there was a group of huge monsters lying there. Countless camel carriers, animal carcasses are being dragged back and forth for feeding. Looks like, it was an extremely busy scene. Except for the original killer queen. There are also the destroyer queen insects bred by the Queen Mother during this period. It is several times larger than the war bug. A huge abdomen also extends from the tail. At this time, all of them were moving slightly. War insect eggs are being produced quickly. Speed, obviously, it cannot compare with the killer queen on the other side. How many eggs can the 3rd generation annihilator war bug lay every day? My lord, we can produce 408 per day. Only more than 400 pieces. Qin Tian calculated silently. Soon, the slight dissatisfaction that had just arisen in my heart disappeared immediately. The 2-month growth cycle of the annihilator warbug remains unchanged. As the queen of insects never rests, 2 months later, every day, each of these will add 408 destroyer warbugs. That's more than 130,000 yuan a year. 10 queen insects. A planetary year, the outside world can add more than 1.3 million destroyer warbugs every day. Plus the 330,000 killer warbugs produced every day. That's enough for now. A large number of hatched queens reproduced the destroyer war insects. It is to develop King Mustar and quickly obtain the origin, thereby summoning Zerg creatures to protect themselves. But now, there will be no national war among the 4 countries in the short term. You don't need too many people. At present, the external forces are sufficient to ensure one's own safety. Too much, on the contrary, it can easily lead to trouble. Unless one can instantly summon Zerg creatures powerful enough to crush the 4 nations. Think a little, Qin Tian said to the Queen Mother, stop the Annihilator Queen's reproduction. The other 3 dragon species, each type of insect produces a queen. The rest of the time, using all the stored genes, evolved a whole new species. Combat power comes first, and reproduction efficiency comes second. In addition, it would be better to evolve a few more war bugs with special abilities. Qin Tian thought about it. 2 more sentences, there's no need to rush. We have to find the best solution for the entire gene pool. Fusion gene, evolution of new species, it's not just a random combination of genes. The Queen Mother first compiled it in her body. The result after failing thousands of times. For example, the killer war bug, suppose it is the successful product of the 1000th attempt to fuse several genes. Subsequent experiments, it is possible that a species that is stronger in all aspects will be born. But because the killer war bug was the first successful case, he was then kept by the Queen Mother and became a member of the tribe. Continue to reproduce the queen, it will inevitably delay the evolution time. Only by concentrating our efforts can we evolve a new generation with higher combat power more quickly. The race war of the 4 nations, Qin Tian plans to fight for it. Although it is a bit of a pipe dream given the current strength of the Zerg. But after all, it is related to his own fiefdom. Furthermore, the land we had acquired was gone. What was the point of his 3 months of hard work? What a joke! It would be fine if a war broke out among the 4 countries. The hot potato is lost. The key is, war is almost impossible. Moreover, Wuhan County has an excellent geographical location. The heart of Daxia, the center of Shikoku. It is a place where 4 wars have taken place. After you have enough power, hit wherever you want. Isn't it comfortable? Arranged development. Qin Tian flashed to the space channel of Wanshao Star. Floated in. Under the big tree not far outside the passage, the rock still lives there. It has basically been used as a nest. Hey, Lord Creator, you are finally here. Oh. Qin Tian chuckled. I didn't pay attention to the resentment in the other person's words. I was confined to a certain area by several destroyer war bugs all day long. It's a person. It won't be good. I didn't go crazy and mess around. Just a few complaints are extremely rare and precious. Qin Tian floated down, when he came to the same level as the rock leaning against the tree trunk, opening his mouth. I want to know everything about that cosmic creature. Didn't you say you didn't need it? The big peng bird tilted its head and glanced at Qin Tian strangely. Then he drooped his eyelids. Besides, what does it matter if you know it? Are you planning to take advantage of it? Hearing this, Qin Tian nodded seriously. Road, right. You're right. I do intend to, get it. Chapter 83. Ha 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 ha. I am dying of laughter. Just you. Get it. Ha ha ha. After a moment of stunned silence, the rock laughed, flapping its wings wildly on the ground. The fluctuations of consciousness transmitted were almost insane. But as a destroyer war bug slowly fell, the peng bird stopped laughing. The wings no longer flapped. Then he raised his bird head and looked at Qin Tian. You're not kidding me. What do you think? Qin Tian's tone became a little heavier. A bit wishful thinking though. But that was the only one he thought of. Before the 4 Kingdoms War begins, a method to dramatically improve the overall ethnic group's strength to compete with those powerful technologically civilized races. With the current development efficiency of the Zerg, unless the 4-nation negotiations can be postponed for a year or so, maybe there is still a slight chance of winning. Otherwise, there is absolutely no hope. If I tell you, you will summon me out. The peng bird blinked and asked with a look of strong anticipation. I'll think about it. Oh, that's impossible. You're asking even though you already know the answer. Qin Tian was too lazy to argue and spoke bluntly. Actually, with the temperament of Qian in the body of the peng bird, those summoned out would not intentionally commit suicide and spread the secret of the origin. For more than 100 years, that's more than 36,000 years on the planet. Such a long time. Alone on a planet shrouded in the shadow of death. For ordinary people, he had committed suicide out of despair a long time ago. But this guy endured it and survived to this day. As you can imagine, how terrifying is perseverance? How strong is the mind? The determination to survive, how intense it is. After tens of thousands of years, finally, an opportunity came. Such a person, how could he do something to seek death just after escaping death? Of course. Even if there is a 1 in 10,000 chance. Qin Tian was unwilling to take the risk. Taking a step back, even if Qian didn't know this secret. He was not obliged to waste his essence to help him see the light of day again. The two are not familiar with each other. We have only just met for a short time. On the other hand, the Peng bird can live safely on this planet of beasts. There is no need to worry or be afraid like when facing that cosmic creature on Thunder Cloud Star. This is his greatest kindness. We should be more grateful to them. There was silence. The Peng bird spoke as if it had been appointed, so what do you want to know? Everything. Qin Tian couldn't help it. Well, what I know is that one day more than 100 years ago, when I attached my consciousness to the great Peng spirit bird to check out a newly discovered group of magical beasts, that cosmic creature appeared and spit on the planet. Then I disappeared and lost contact with my body outside. That's it. What else? Do you think I fought with that cosmic creature for days and nights before I was defeated? I mean... Qin Tian took a deep breath. Resist the urge to slap this guy to death. Road, its physical characteristics. Its abilities. Is it possible for it to leave Thundercloud Planet? The Peng bird moved its body. I tilted my head and thought about it. Road, I don't know what its body is. Over the years, I have traveled around the planet countless times, but I have never seen its entire body. It's big anyway. As for ability, didn't you see it too? To deal with creatures like us who are not even ants, what powerful moves do you think it will use? Oh, no, we don't even have the qualifications to let it take action. Like you said at the beginning, just because of an itchy nose and sneezed at us, it was already a natural disaster. At last. It's sleeping or hibernating. In the tens of thousands of years before you came, it woke up less than 10 times in total. Well, I should sleep for hundreds of thousands of years. Even the Peng bird doesn't understand. Qin Tian sighed. But I'm not surprised. Really, the gap between the two is too big. They are not at the same level at all, planet creatures in front of it, like a mayfly compared to the stars. The chance of killing the opponent, it is not much worse than using Zerg to destroy a cultivation planet that has developed for hundreds of thousands of years. But, Qin Tian's purpose of this trip was barely achieved. Knowing that the cosmic creature will not leave, or it would be enough that he would not be far away from Thundercloud Star during his lifetime. We couldn't handle it before the Four Kingdoms War. One day the Zerg will evolve into a space species. It's not too late to try it then. Before leaving, Qin Tian seemed to have thought of something. He turned around and looked at the Peng bird curiously and asked, "How did you survive these tens of thousands of years?" He didn't believe that the body of the Peng bird could survive for tens of thousands of years. Even for a fairy beast, it is unlikely. What's more, it has degenerated into a monster-like creature. This is already the 358th generation. I understand. Qin Tian nodded. In simple terms, Qi and Yin may have relied on the reproduction of the Peng bird from generation to generation. They survived by transferring consciousness from the mother to the young. How to do it, Qin Tian has never tried it, so he doesn't know. But think about it, it's not impossible. Return to Mars, Qin Tian flashed to the penalty area. Checked the condition of the Queen Mother. The dragon's eyes were still closed. The body remained still. The plunder of the planet over the past century. There are countless genes of various Zerg, wild beasts, and warcraft stored in the Queen Mother's body. A fusion of dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of genes. Almost astronomical. It is simply not something that can be accomplished in a short period of time. The next generation of war bugs, its combat power should be higher than that of the whiptail dragon. But the genes for a stronger creature are missing. I don't think it's that strong. Whether it can advance to a 5th generation evolutionary form with a combat power of 400,000 is a question. Even if we can form a certain scale of numerical advantage through the support of a large number of queen insects. It's also difficult to defeat a cultivation civilization that has developed for tens of thousands of years. The same is true for technological civilization. The time gap is too big. At most. Thinking of this, Qin Tian was suddenly stunned. Then his eyes flashed with surprise. Because, he probably thought of a way to kill that cosmic creature. At least, can deal heavy damage. At worst, injury should be no problem. And just a little bit, the blood or skin of that cosmic creature will do. Chapter 84. In the restricted area. Qin Tian looked up at the stars in the sky. There was a smile on his lips and his expression was changing. At this moment, he thought of a sentence from his previous life. While the snipe and the clam fight, the fisherman gains. At present, my own Zerg in the eyes of that cosmic creature, small as a speck of dust. In front of those technological civilizations and immortal cultivation civilizations that have developed for tens of thousands of years, also fragile like thin paper. No matter which side, they were all mountain peaks that he could not reach. In this case, why not let both sides kill each other? Just sit back and reap the benefits? The invincible fleets of high-level technological civilizations can travel through the starry sky. The cultivators in the high-level immortal cultivation civilization can even travel across the universe. As long as you are free from the constraints of the planet, it can pose a threat to that cosmic creature. A civilization is no match for it, then focus on the two major civilizations. The species on a planet cannot resist, then give me 10 or 100. He didn't believe it. Gathering thousands of immortal cultivators and countless interstellar battleships, we can't cause even a little bit of damage or bleed to that cosmic creature. That's easier said than done. But it's so difficult to do. Qin Tian retracted his gaze, shook his head and smiled bitterly. There are many issues involved. Each one made him feel almost hopeless. But it is not completely impossible to achieve. Compared to the powerlessness when facing that cosmic creature, there is always a glimmer of hope. Outside world. Within Hakufu. Qin Tian sat in the hall with frowned brows. The War of Four Nations. It is currently in the negotiation stage. It will probably start in as short as January or as long as February. So, he doesn't have much time left. He must obtain the genes of that cosmic creature within a month. The remaining half-month, fusion and evolution into a new generation of war insects. And reproduce in large numbers. Another half-month, crazy explosion of soldiers. Certainly, this is based on everything going well. Uncle Wang walked in. With Qin Tian's advance order. The black dragon guards guarding the outer gate did not stop him. How much funds are left in the palace? Qin Tian asked. My lord, there are still 23.85 million gold left in the treasury. As the chief steward of the Bose mansion, you will always know how much money is left for your daily consumption. More than 20 million. Qin Tian pointed his finger at the table and muttered something. Currently, the Bo family has no assets under their name. All the money in the mansion comes from the gifts from the major families when the mansion was founded. There were dozens of tables with nearly 100 people attending the banquet that day. There are also those wealthy businessmen from prominent families who are not qualified to attend the banquet but can only present gifts. Added together, more than 20 million is not a lot. For money, Qin Tian didn't take it seriously at first. It's enough. The expenses in the palace are not high. The dozens of black dragon guards and parasitic queen under his command require no salary. The remaining slaves are of little use. The biggest expense is mainly in the food and drink expenses for hundreds of mouths. Tens of millions of gold are enough to last for several years or more. But at this moment, when necessary, only then did he deeply realize what it meant to regret not having enough money until you need it. Master, do you need me to fetch the account book? No, go down. Qin Tian waved his hand. He did not do this to check the accounts out of concern that his servants might embezzle money. Just understand it and have an idea in mind. Besides, let's not talk about Uncle Wang's identity as the Lin family's spokesperson. The mere fact of being parasitized makes it impossible. Anything that damages the safety and interests of the master, all will be monitored by the parasitic queen and dealt with accordingly. Outside the door, a servant bowed and reported, Uncle, the people have arrived. Send him in. Yes. Not long after, the obese figure of Fatty Bear appeared. Uncle, you're looking for me. Qin Tian pointed to a chair and asked him to sit down and talk. Then asked, have you thought about it? Reply to Lord Bo, I have considered it. How? I decided to follow my uncle. Good. Qin Tian didn't ask any more questions. There was no question of any ill intentions. A person actively and proactively woos the superior. Or seek advancement for the sake of one's own future. Or there is a reason why you have to do it. If it were someone else, maybe you will hesitate to weigh his thoughts. But for Lord Qin, this is no big deal. From now on, you will be responsible for managing the money in and out of the mansion. You will be considered the second steward of the mansion. Thank you for your support, Master. Fatty Bear stood up and bowed to express his gratitude, as if he was flattered. Qin Tian waved his hand, but before that, go and do 2 things for Benbo. Please give your orders, my lord. First, I have recently become interested in elixirs and plan to purchase the Lington Pavilion as an asset under my name. You can talk to the shopkeeper later and mention my name. I think he will not be ungrateful. As for the amount of money required, you can discuss it yourself. This is a small matter and you don't need to spend too much time on it. Yes. Second, after you have dealt with the matter of the spiritual pill pavilion, you will take 20 million gold from the treasury and go to Andong country and Zhenbei country to purchase ownerless planets. Yes, Uncle, acquisition. Fatty Bear thought he had heard it wrong. He looked up at Qin Tian in confusion. The creator generally does not specifically purchase ownerless planets. Totally useless. Especially cross-civilization planets. Qin Tian bought the Crimson Star before. He thought it was just to satisfy his curiosity. No need to ask any more questions, just follow the instructions. Also, the technological planet must be above level 3, and the immortal cultivation planet. Qin Tian paused. Immerse yourself a little, he shook his head again and said, forget about the cultivation planets. You are mainly going to Andong country this time to acquire technological planets above level 3. You can buy as many as you can with 20 million gold. Go quickly and come back quickly. Different from the technological civilization that relies solely on external technological equipment. The individual strength of the immortal cultivation civilization is inherently very strong. Not to mention those powerful monks who can travel across the starry sky. There are too many variables. It is also very dangerous and difficult to control. It will be troublesome if you take it off while playing. Moreover, both technological planets and cultivation planets are very expensive. It is far from comparable to biological planets. Especially planets that have reached the 3rd level of technological civilization. I don't think 20 million gold can buy much. Yes, uncle. Once this matter is settled, the Xiong family will be protected by the Marquis's mansion. After a while, they can move to Wuhan County with my family, or they can continue to stay in Linen City. Master Xiat, I will do it right away. Wait. Qin Tian called out to Fatty Xiong who was about to turn around and leave. There is a rule in the Beau's mansion. Without waiting for Fatty Bear to ask, Qin Tian turned and looked at the parasitic queen standing outside the door. He waved his hand, someone, give me the elixir. Chapter 85. After the birth of the parasitic queen, Qin Tian set the most basic bottom line for himself. Anyone around me, the pill will be given. Regardless of the amount of affection, not to mention morality. Even father and son turned against each other, mother and daughter can also become enemies. What about a classmate who is just an acquaintance? There is no way he would do that for that little bit of so-called friendship. Disregarding one's own safety. Lean back in your seat. Qin Tian looked at Fatty Xiong who had taken the order and left. Next, we can only wait for it to return after acquiring the ownerless planet. Everything can be implemented as planned. 2 days later. With a wave of consciousness, Qin Tian's consciousness appears in the restricted area of Mars. The planet has been around for more than 2 years. The Queen Mother finally completed countless gene fusion experiments. A new generation of war bugs has evolved. And it has grown to completion today. Not far from the Queen Mother, there were 3 newborn war bugs with extremely exaggerated body proportions lying there. Qin Tian dodged and came in front of the largest one. Looking closely, this war bug could almost be called a war beast. At more than 70 meters in size, it is like a small mountain. The whole body is covered with a thick shell. Especially the head area. It's like installing a huge door panel. Completely enclosed. The top is raised, the 2 sides extend downward in an inclined manner. The eyes are sunken deep inside the carapace. The mouth, which is almost covered by the head shell, is full of fangs. A single horn protrudes outward from the front, especially the neck. It has a pair of huge sickle-like blades. The joints are covered with spikes. The limbs are strong and powerful. Lying on the ground like an ancient ferocious beast, filled with a violent rage that wants to destroy everything. Just a glance, the name has already been fixed in Qin Tian's mind. Destroyer War Bug. It's pretty much as expected. More than 250,000 combat power. Higher than the whiptail dragon, but it's also extremely limited. Qin Tian opened the message and checked it. The only pity is that I don't have the ability. It's probably because the Queen Mother has fused more insect genes after all. At first he ordered the Queen Mother, when the gene pool is concentrated to evolve the strongest war insect, prioritize combat power. The second is reproductive efficiency. Fusing too many wild beast and demon beast genes, this will inevitably lead to a growth cycle that is too long, like the three major dragon clans. Qin Tian came to the front of the second war bug. The size of this war bug is far from comparable to that of the destroyer war bug. It looks only a dozen meters long. The back carapace is covered with spikes half an arm long. It has 6 limbs. All fours on the ground, the pair of hook-like limbs in the front are extremely eye-catching. The combat power is a bit low. It's just over 80,000. But there are actually 2 abilities. It should be the Queen Mother who followed her own instructions. A special kind of insect that has been bred. Qin Tian looked at the ability introduction on the war bug information. I immediately thought of a name that fits its characteristics very well. Lurker War Bug. Qin Tian lowered his eyes slightly. The wool is revealed. I saw the Lurker War Bug waving its 2 front limbs quickly. In less than 10 seconds, so they dug a hole in the ground. Buried himself completely underground. And when entering the pit, its hind legs will also sweep the soil to seal the hole. To conceal to a certain extent. Then, sharp thorns broke through the soil one by one, bringing out sharp whistles of the wind. It's too small. Qin Tian came to the last insect. He looked curiously at the small bug in front of him that was only the size of a basketball. The body is also swollen like an ellipsoidal sphere. But, it has 2 wings on the front and back that are twice as big as its body. As thin as a cicada's wing. There was almost no sound as it flashed so quickly. Corruptor Baneling. See the little one's information. Qin Tian immediately confirmed the name. This little creature stores a large amount of corrosive liquid in its abdomen. And it is highly toxic. The only way to fight. It was a suicide attack. Destroy your own body, releases the poisonous acid in your body at your enemies. In terms of power, I don't know how. Qin Tian glanced at the other 2 war bugs. It finally fell on the destroyer war bug. Next second. Just as the wool commanded, before Qin Tian could react, I felt a rapid afterimage passing by my eyes. Bang! Not far away, there was an instant loud bang. Qin Tian looked away. Staring blankly at the corrosive smoke coming out of the destroyer war bug, and a bowl-sized hole appeared on the back. Is it that the destroyer's defense is too weak? Or is the corruptor Baneling too strong? In fact, Qin Tian had no doubt about the strength of the destroyer bug's carapace. Judging from its body, it is definitely a defensive type. Estimated combat power, 250,000. Most of them are blessed on it. So, the power of that little thing's self-detonation, it's so scary. Qin Tian arrived above the destroyer bug. He looked down at his back, which was still emitting smoke. Traumatic holes at the wound site, it was obviously more than twice as big as before. And it's still getting worse. The corrosive liquid continued to flow inward along the shell. In the blink of an eye, the body of the destroyer warworm was pierced through. A dark green viscous liquid mixed with wisps of green smoke flowed all over the ground. Although there are only 50,000 combat forces. But fast. Highly corrosive. It can cause lasting damage. And it's highly poisonous, tisk tisk. I have to say, the corruptor Baneling brings a surprise to Qin Tian. Much larger than the previous 2. Once the quantity is formed, rushing towards the enemy in overwhelming force, that picture, it's so beautiful. Turning to look at the Queen Mother, Qin Tian sent out an order. Destroyer War Bug. Lurker War Bug. Corruptor Baneling. Each of the 3 major groups produced 10 insect queens. 3 more days passed. When Qin Tian came to the restricted area of Mars again. Where the eye is, it's a sea of dense swarms of insects. There is no end in sight. Except for the growth time of the three major groups of insects, which takes less than a day to hatch. 2 days in the outside world, 2 years in the planet. The destroyer war bugs have multiplied to over 4.6 million. There are more than 16 million lurkers. And the corruptor baneling. It actually reached a terrifying 34.3 million. Qin Tian stared at the system information interface. The whole person fell into a lasting confusion. My lord. The reproduction speed of the new generation of war bugs has greatly increased. The growth cycle of the destroyer war bug is 5 months and 8 days, and it lays 801 eggs every day. The lurker war bug's growth cycle is 1 month and 12 days, and it lays 2,311 eggs per day. The corruptor baneling growth cycle is 10 days, laying 4,807 eggs per day. The Queen Mother's voice, Qin Tian finally came back to his senses. So soon. Forget about the Annihilator warbug, it's taller than the second generation Slayer warbug. In addition to the Destroyer warworm, the other 2 warbugs are several times larger than the Killer warbug. But as soon as the words came out, Qin Tian regained his composure. I figured it out immediately. The Killer warbugs are a species that evolved on the outside world's 3 moons planet 60 years ago. Genes are limited. The Queen Mother did not make any attempt to select. The same is true for the animal fighter bug. Plus the wild beast genes are the main ones, it also affects efficiency. And the 3 newly evolved groups of war insects. It is the Queen Mother who repeatedly travels among the planets. The experiment combined the results of more than 2 years. It is likely that from the many species that have been successfully tested, the best of the best. And it is still mainly composed of Zerg genes. It is no surprise that they reproduce at such an astonishing rate. He glanced at the dark swarm of insects that filled his vision. Qin Tian flashed to the periphery of the penalty area. The communication opened up the Crimson Star space channel. Outside the channel, unlike before when there was only a pair of wild mandarin ducks. Unfortunately, some people who looked like they were outing for a picnic appeared. He Qin Tian stood in mid-air, looking at a group of shocked and stunned eyes. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Don't care. Raise your right hand. Then wave it down gently. In the space channel behind him, in an instant, roaring through the sky. The insect tide is pouring down. Chapter 86. On the Crimson Earth, the black torrent surged rapidly. There are densely packed war bugs of all sizes. Like a flood, it is pouring out madly from the exit of the space channel. Under the control of Qin Tian's will, they all let out fierce roars that resounded through the sky. It transformed into waves and swept towards the city where humans gathered. On the road, the Crimson Starmen screamed in terror, with the roar of the running vehicles, started to increase more and more. But soon everything returned to calm. Wherever the swarm passes, the bodies of the human race disappeared without leaving any residue. Broken parts of the suspended vehicle were scattered everywhere. Distance, a sharp and piercing alarm suddenly sounded in the city. It breaks people's busy, boring, and numb life. Some looked shocked. Some paused in doubt, more, then he looked up at the sky, then he walked forward and continued his journey. Just treat it as a normal alarm test. Until, as the deafening cry gradually became clearer, seeing the huge and terrifying reptiles appearing in sight, finally everyone woke up. Especially when seeing those fellows who were caught up being cruelly eaten by countless insects, the blood that was spilled, flying limbs, a terrifying scene that makes your scalp tingle. It completely ignited the deepest fear in everyone's heart. There were hysterical screams. They all ran away. Panic spread quickly. Like waves advancing layer by layer, let the whole city in a very short time, it fell into a state of extreme disorder and chaos. Too fast, if this continues. Thousands of meters away in the sky, Qin Tian's consciousness is possessed by a destroyer war bug. Looking at the scene in the city from afar. Then the wool spreads out, slowed down the swarm's advance. This trip, he was not trying to conquer the Crimson Star. It's also unrealistic. In addition to the 3 major dragon creatures, the other 5 major tribes each sent 1 million troops to fight. A total of 5 million war bugs, not nearly enough to conquer the world. Besides, ordinary intelligent species cannot be conquered either. It's just temporary oppression. Against the backdrop of alien invasion, there will always be some so-called saviors emerging among intelligent races. Raise your arms and call, lead the enslaved people, launching endless resistances one after another, just to restore the glory of our clan. To achieve true conquest, only extinction. But it consumed countless war bugs, to occupy a desolate planet, what's the use? Qin Tian suddenly cast his eyes to the ground. The ground seemed to shake. You can clearly see the bodies of the insect swarm shaking continuously. Not long after, pieces of red light began to rise rapidly from the edge of the city. Forming a shield-like existence, the whole city was enveloped in it. At the same time, it also blocked the continued influx of insects from outside. As the ground shook more and more violently, in Qin Tian's surprised look, the whole city suddenly rose up from the ground. Finally it was suspended at a height of more than 10 meters above the ground. Protective shield. Floating city. Inside the hood, from time to time, rays of light that looked like weapons were emitted. Obviously, the Crimson Star people inside also began to fight back. Clear out some of the killer war bugs that entered first. Qin Tian swept towards the outer swarm of insects. The destroyer is the slowest. At this moment, they all fell behind. One of the destroyer war bugs received an order from the overmind. Immediately lower your head and follow the path opened by the swarm, start a sprint. Hit the shield hard. Floating more than 10 meters in the air, it is less than half the height of a war bug's limbs. Buzz. A strong impact, the entire shield suddenly vibrated and ripples appeared. But immediately an even stronger red light burst out. Let it stabilize quickly. Not in the form of electrical energy, it should be a transformation of some kind of energy. At this time, a faint roar was heard. Qin Tian looked up. The edge of the sky, a large number of triangular flying objects that looked like fighter planes broke through the air. But it is different from the fighter planes Qin Tian knew. Those things don't fly flat. The wings on both sides flipped over. It was hovering vertically at a great distance. It didn't dive over. More like scouting. Hula. Sensing the will of the master, a large group of Annihilator War Zergs and Corruptor Banelings immediately broke away and rushed forward to meet them. He also did not charge forward to attack. Stopped in the air thousands of meters away. A situation of mutual confrontation is formed. Crimson Star. In the military ceremonial hall of the Union building. The Crimson Star officers sat upright. The atmosphere was tense and the faces were solemn. There is a screen hanging on the opposite wall. The scene of countless giant reptiles besieging the floating city is being played in real time. First place. A Crimson Star commander stared at the latest intelligence that had just been reported. Hands, unable to stop shaking slightly. A long time, he took a breath. Flipped the intelligence onto the table. Get up, swish. All officers present stood up at the same time. Order the 108 Crimson Legions of the Alliance to go to the battlefield immediately. Activate strategic weapons reserves. Activate the first level war order. Be prepared for a full-scale war. But, Commander Bess. I know. I will ask the Archon personally for instructions. Beth raised her hand. Interrupted one of the officers. After the meeting, Beth sat back in her chair. Staring at the information on the table. Lasts for a moment. He rubbed his face. I straightened my clothes. He stood up and pressed a button on the table. Soon, a figure of an elderly woman formed by light appeared. General Bess, I need to know what happened. Your Excellency Archon, we are very likely being invaded by an alien civilization. The Archon's figure began to shake. Obviously, he was also shocked by this information. No one understands what this means better than them. When one civilization has the ability to invade another civilization, and it started with killing, usually represents the invaded party, the final result, or be enslaved, or be exterminated. General Bess, are you sure? Your Excellency Archon, this is a wormhole image that has just been reported. Beth picked up the information on the table, those giant reptile creatures came from this wormhole. Is their civilization powerful enough to open and use space wormholes? Yes, but we will not surrender. Of course, General Bess, we will fight to the end. Later, I will use my wartime authority to activate the Alliance's Level 1 War Mobilization Order. Your Excellency Archon, I request approval to use the Crimson Scythe for targeted strikes. Approved. Facing a powerful invasion of civilization, we must use all our strength. May the scarlet never wither. General Bess placed his right hand on his chest. Slightly bow your head. With a solemn look, may the crimson never fade. Chapter 87. The end of the horizon. Located on the east and west sides of the floating city. An endless torrent of iron armor is rolling in. A huge army of human soldiers is advancing in an orderly manner. In the sky, the number of fighter planes of various types gathered, almost too numerous to count. Oh! The reaction speed is quite fast. Qin Tian looked at the red dots approaching in groups. Less than an hour after the swarm appeared, the enemy's organized army has come into sight. But this is normal. Technologically civilized instant messaging equipment, it allows commands to be passed down layer by layer with almost no gaps. Especially in the case of a united front against foreign invasion, it can even reach an extremely terrifying level. The human army stopped 1,000 meters away. Facing those terrifying huge reptiles in sight, every soldier's face showed an lingering fear. Some legs are shaking, some of the fingers holding the guns could not help but tremble. Peace has been with them for too long. Grow too, they had completely forgotten what war looked like. Plus the enemy is an alien species that has never been seen before. It makes them even more unbearable. Stop. Disperse. Qin Tian expands his will. The swarm of insects besieging the floating city, stopped the attack immediately and quickly dispersed to both sides. From an aerial perspective, the Kuroshio current and the red dot are clearly divided into two parts, east and west. It spreads out far away. There is a 1,000-meter buffer between the two sides. Form a confrontation posture. The human army is waiting for orders from above. Qin Tian was also waiting for the other party's senior management to appear. The war is bound to be protracted. He didn't want to waste his time on such meaningless things. Pouring out a tide of insects, it is to attract the other party's attention. And show your fangs. The more fearful the enemy is, the more bargaining chips you hold in your hands, the more important they are. Are those hanging in the air tanks? And those, rocket launchers? Mecha. Qin Tian looked at the various armored vehicles in the human army with interest. Try to distinguish as much as possible based on your own understanding. The largest number of them, it is a suspended tank with a strange appearance. No tracks, there is only one muzzle. There are also some cube-shaped weapons that look like containers. There are many holes on it. Also, Qin Tian also saw a mecha army. A 7 or 8 meter tall figure among a large group of human soldiers. It is particularly conspicuous. A normally developed technological civilization. It will never be as distorted as the Great Xiandong Kingdom. All aspects will be covered. It only focuses on a single aspect. As Qin Tian was looking around, a sudden red light broke the silence on the battlefield. Maybe it's because I'm too nervous. There could be other reasons as well. On the eastern battlefield, a crimson soldier pulled the trigger of his gun. Shoot a killer bug on the opposite side. A hole was left in the carapace. Green juice was flowing down the wound. Squeak. Feel the pain in your body. This instantly stimulated the ferocity of the killer war bug. Under instinct. With a roar, he rushed towards the opposite side fiercely. Squeak. Roar. The surrounding war bugs responded immediately. Move your limbs and follow closely. Like a fuse. More and more war bugs joined the charge, covering a wider range. Led by the killer war bug that turned into a bayonet, they pounced on the human army on the opposite side. In almost an instant, the entire swarm of insects on the eastern battlefield launched a general attack. Boom! The human army also immediately launched an attack. Countless red rays shot out at once. Huge balls of energy poured out from the muzzle. The huge mecha army began to move. For a time, the sound of artillery roared. The chirping of insects is deafening. Violent movement, it soon attracted the attention of the western battlefield. The human race launched the attack first. The black insect tide also surged in the next moment. The beginning of war, because of a human soldier's mistake, pull it open completely. Half empty, Qin Tian did not try to stop the Zerg's counterattack. Before the negotiations, it is not unnecessary to warm up. The human race in this world, are you obsessed with red to this extent? Qin Tian looked at the battlefield below curiously. Not only ground, building, vehicle, and aircraft armor. Even the light emitted by the weapons, it's also red. Seem, in this world, besides the monotonous red, no other colors can be seen anymore. And those weapons? Not ordinary bullets, more like energy. So, this is ultimately leaning towards energy civilization. Or focus on genetic research. Qin Tian frowned slightly. I had to question my initial judgment. The battlefield below, the two major races soon came into contact. The scene was very chaotic. It's also extremely bloody. From time to time, you can see human soldiers being torn to pieces by war bugs. Qin Tian's gaze lingered on the mecha core for a moment. Move away immediately. The technology of Scarlet Star obviously did not put much effort into mecha. The flying weapons and long-range strikes that Qin Tian had imagined did not appear. Only close combat is possible. The greatest advantage of the war bug is precisely close combat. The cold weapons extending from the mecha's hands were simply unable to break the war insect's shell. A body of 7 or 8 meters in size is even more vulnerable in front of the war bugs and does not give them any advantage at all. Even tiny. A mountain of destroyer war bugs could knock down a large number of them with one charge. The fang-like blades on the forelimbs swept across, countless mechas were cut in half and turned into scrap parts all over the ground. Those energy weapons cause more damage to the Zerg than these. Qin Tian's eyes suddenly narrowed. Look at some human soldiers flying in the battlefield. Without the support of external equipment, just floating in the air and moving quickly, holding a gun, he killed the war bugs below. But, everyone is surrounded by a red shield. The kinetic energy obviously comes from this. Under Qin Tian's watchful eyes, several human soldiers flew towards him quickly. It hovered several dozen meters ahead. One of them stepped forward. He was saying something with gestures. Qin Tian couldn't understand the other party's language. But I still understood the gestures. The other party wants to negotiate. But, how did they get among the swarm of insects? Come directly to yourself? Soon, Qin Tian suddenly understood. Increase the field of view to facilitate watching the game. The annihilator warbug he possessed broke away from the group. Moved forward some distance. Behind them are large swarms of annihilator war zergs and corruptor banelings. Like a crane standing out among chickens. It is indeed too conspicuous. Qin Tian sent out a consciousness. The sound that directly acted on his mind made the other party stunned. Then he woke up and left quickly. Soon, an older Crimson Starman flew up with several soldiers. You don't need to speak, you can communicate what's in your mind. Qin Tian was the first to transmit consciousness. To avoid communication barriers. The old Crimson Star was also stunned. Try to say this in your mind. Dear alien visitor, my name is Beth, and I am the highest military commander of the Alliance. May I ask why you attacked us? I need to know the level of your technology. Why do you want to know us? You have too many questions. Okay, Your Excellency, we can sit down and talk slowly, but before that, can we stop the war first? Qin Tian's will is revealed. All the war bugs immediately withdrew. The human legions were also under the command of various officers. He put down his weapon and did not pursue. The battlefield was filled with fierce fighting. To the moment of rest. Instant communication between the will of the master and technological civilization. Makes the war extremely smooth. Then, I would like to ask, are you the supreme commander of this swarm? Beth asked. Yes, I am the master of the swarm. Okay, I understand. Beth nodded. Suddenly he pulled away and flew away quickly. The next moment, Qin Tian sensed something. Control the animal warrior bug to look up at the sky. In perspective, distant sky, an arc-shaped beam of energy is coming rapidly. And constantly split, 1.2, 2.4. When it reaches the sky above your head, it has become a densely packed area. Final, boom. Countless arcs of light fell, easily cut open the body of the annihilator warbug that was possessed by Qin Tian. He also killed a large number of war insects around him. It fell to the ground with a series of loud explosions. The master of the swarm is dead. Give the order. All out attack. All out attack. Kill all the bugs. Beth, who was in the distance, shouted orders to the adjutant beside him. However, when he saw another insect like the previous one flying up, and the words that come to my mind, he was shocked at once. Are you talking about me? Qin Tian regained control of a destroyer bug and slowly came to Beth, emitting a sense of consciousness. Are you still talking about me? With the sound, Beth glared down at the other giant insect that responded to the ground. Or, you mean us? With Beth's face full of incredible horror. Squeak! All the insects were agitated. They all raised their heads, there were bursts of shrill screams. Qin Tian moved a little closer. Let the fierce eyes of the war bug stare at Beth's frightened face, slowly transmitting a cold consciousness. It's the swarm. Everywhere. Chapter 88. Squeak. The sharp trembling of the insect swarm, above the crimson star, the sound continued to reverberate for a long time. They stared at the human soldiers in the distance. The body was shaking and acting abnormally violently. In their emotionless eyes, it is filled with endless viciousness and violence. It seemed as if the master only needed to show a little bit of intention to attack. They will rush forward recklessly and fiercely, tear those humans to pieces. They felt the wrath of the overlord. They are also expressing this boundless anger. In the sky, Beth's lip trembled. He looked at the swarm of insects on the ground in horror, which were on the verge of an explosion. Then he looked at the war bug in front of him, which was staring at him coldly. He looked shocked and pale. He couldn't imagine that such a creature could exist in the universe. The master of this insect swarm before us, or the supreme leader of his race as he understood it. It could be a bug. It can actually transform into any insect. This means that the opponent cannot be killed. Unless their entire race is exterminated. But this is obviously impossible. He didn't think that the entire tribe consisted of only the millions who entered the Crimson Star. In that open wormhole, there will surely be more. Beth's body began to shake violently, uncontrollably. He knew he had made a huge and fatal mistake. Faced with a powerful unknown alien race, he actually relied on his own narrow and pitiful cognitive concepts. To try to kill the master of this swarm, to destroy the enemy's command system, and thus win this racial war. Try to calm your fear. To save the terrible consequences of mistakes. Beth was busy pleading in her heart, Your Excellency, this is all a misunderstanding, it's really all a misunderstanding. I apologize to you and ask for your forgiveness. I ask for your pardon. As I said before, we can sit down and discuss. Perhaps, we can accept your request. No, I don't accept it. Qin Tian transmitted his consciousness. The sneak attack didn't kill me. Just an apology and that's it. According to the normal script, Qin Tian should burst out his boundless will at this time. All the Zerg fighters were killed. Including other common insects on Mars, completely wipe out the human race on Crimson Star. Let them pay for their stupidity. Let them feel the horror of angering a Zerg overlord. But in order to ensure the feasibility of the plan to hunt space creatures, in order to facilitate the faster evolution of the population, space species were developed. He endured it. Regain sanity. It can't just be for personal emotions. Regardless of the development of the ethnic group, waste your time on this. But, no punishment, it will make you appear too weak. This will put the subsequent negotiations and future position at a disadvantage. Think about it for a moment. Qin Tian continued, You have offended me, and I cannot forgive you. But I am merciful. So, I give you two choices. First, I can accept that this is your personal mistake as the Supreme Commander. As the price, you will pay with your life and take the initiative to walk into that space channel. Second, my countless tribes will vent my anger. The war will continue endlessly until you are completely extinct. You only have 10 minutes to think about it. Qin Tian finished speaking and then controlled the animal warrior bug to retreat. Two options, actually, there is no choice. One person dies and 10,000 live. In any race, it's something that doesn't need to be considered. Really, just a few minutes, Beth came alone. There were no soldiers with him. Your Excellency, I hope my life will calm your anger. Beth bowed down, he bowed deeply. Turn around and leave, wrapped in a red protective shield, it flew towards the direction of the passage. There was no fear of impending death on his face. Instead, it is filled with a sense of righteousness and fearlessness. In a war, if death is inevitable, he died bravely, it is the most glorious destiny in every general's heart. Put it on the ethnic group. It will be infinitely magnified. The death of a person, it will bring about the continuation of the entire ethnic group. Follow Beth's figure into the space channel. All the war bugs are under the will of Qin Tian. In an instant, it receded like the tide and returned to Mars. Not long after, a black dragon guard walked out of the space channel. A few days ago, Qin Tian ordered the Queen Mother, a new group of black dragon guards and parasitic queens were bred. First, in order to meet the needs of the outside world, we have to continue to expand our own influence. Secondly, it is also for use in current and future contacts and negotiations with technological civilizations. The human appearance of the Black Dragon Guards. It can reduce the barriers caused by different species. Negotiation venue. According to Qin Tian's request, I chose the floating city nearby. At the same time, he also instructed that all forms should be kept as simple as possible. Even so, the Black Dragon Guards controlled by Qin Tian still received the highest level of reception. This is the sadness of being a weak person. Got slapped. Not only can you not cry out in pain, you also have to put on a smile. In the huge conference room, representatives of both negotiating parties took their seats. Crimson Star, except for the female consul who had just arrived and sat at the top seat. There are 10 more people. They sat in the left row of the conference table. On Qin Tian's side, only the Black Dragon Guard was sitting directly opposite the female consul. But the other party was tactful enough to reserve a whole row of empty seats on the right. They don't have to send extra representatives. They had no choice but to adopt such a humble attitude. Oh! Qin Tian threw the perspective of the Black Dragon Guards. Looking at the pairs of complicated and tangled eyes staring at me, I couldn't help but smile. The consciousness spread out and fell into the minds of everyone present. You can try to think that this is my real body coming to kill me. Maybe it succeeded. You can take a gamble. Isn't it? Once I die, the tribe will lose its leader and fall into chaos. You will have eternal peace. Hearing this, the Crimson Star representative's expression tightened. The female consul on the other side immediately said in her heart, "Your Excellency, you have misunderstood. Once again, I offer my deepest apologies for our stupidity." Immediately, the Archon rose up. A group of Crimson Star representatives followed suit and stood up. "Place your right hand on your chest." Bending down, he paid the highest courtesy to the Dragon Guard sitting in the first seat representing Qin Tian. "Okay, let's get started. Thank you for your generosity, Lord." The Archon took her seat. "Although I am confused as to why you would want to know about our inferior technology given your level of technology, I will answer any questions you have sincerely. First, what aspect does your technology focus on?" This is what Qin Tian is most confused about. "Genetic research, like those gene warriors you saw, is our greatest achievement." The Archon replied. "Gene warriors? Like Beth, who can form a red shield outside his body and fly into the sky?" "Yes, our planet has a very special mineral called Scarlet Stone, which contains a huge amount of energy. Based on our countless years of research, we have combined the energy of the Scarlet Stone with our genes, giving us the ability to fly. Our weapons are also powered by the Scarlet Stone. A combination of energy and genes? Perhaps, after returning, you can let the Queen Mother experiment." Qin Tian thought for a while. Seems like he thought of something. Suddenly asked, "What did you use to attack me?" Qin Tian remembered that those arc-shaped red lights came from the sky. The female consul pursed her lips. He smiled bitterly, "Your Excellency, that is the space weapon that protects the Crimson Planet. It is called the Crimson Scythe. It can carry out extremely precise targeted strikes on ground enemies. Its energy also comes from the Crimson Stone." Qin Tian was startled. Space-based weapons? Chapter 89. Space-based weapons. It's just Qin Tian's cognitive understanding. It shouldn't be a real space weapon. After all, the power is not too great. It is far from what I imagined. The last question is also the most important. I hope you won't hide it. Otherwise, my wrath will wash over the entire Crimson Star. Your Excellency, please believe in our sincerity in seeking peace. Do you have your own space fleet?" The female consul was slightly stunned. It seems quite unexpected. But he immediately said, "I'm sorry, Your Excellency, we don't have our own fleet. We only have a spaceship that has just been developed and put into use." "Only one?" Qin Tian frowned. Not terribly surprising. After all, Crimson Star is just a third-level technological civilization planet. "Okay, let me tell you the purpose of my trip." Qin Tian controlled the Black Dragon Guards to scan the area. He said nonsense casually, "Tens of thousands of years ago, an ancient cosmic creature came to our home planet. It attacked us and nearly wiped out our race. In the end, I was the only one who escaped with the few remaining members of my tribe. After tens of thousands of years of development, our tribe has grown to its former peak. But we have lost the technological gap, and all we have left is the ability to break through the space channel. Now, I want to return to the mother planet, but it is lurking in the space outside the mother planet, and I can't hurt it. So, I need your help. Kill or drive away that cosmic creature. After hearing this, the Crimson Star representatives gradually narrowed their eyes. The female consul was also in a state of daze. It took a long time. She came back to her senses and said, "My lord, please forgive my offense. If your once great race was almost extinct by that cosmic creature, how could we, and we only have one battleship now?" Qin Tian asked the dragon guard to raise his hand to interrupt the female archon. "In addition to you, there are other technologically civilized races joining in. There may be races in there that are more technologically advanced than you. Then, I might ask them to help you further improve the technological development of space battleships. And if you harm that cosmic creature, I will allow you to share its genes." Hiss. A group of representatives took a collective breath. The female consul was also shocked. But I reacted quickly. With uncontrollable excitement, he said, "Your Excellency, the respected Lord, Scarlet Star is always ready to listen to your call. I will immediately send out orders to do everything in my power to collect all the materials needed to build a space battleship." After that, the female consul seemed to have thought of something again. A trace of resentment flashed across his face. No other sentiments are mixed in. It's just an expression of emotion. Oh. Qin Tian immediately understood the female consul's expression. Laughing, "If I appear as an inferior or equal, will you take me seriously? Will you believe me? Your Excellency, your coming is our infinite glory." The female consul stood up and bowed slightly. "For the first time, I felt all the respect I deserved in my heart. With the help of a higher technological civilization, it is an opportunity that every low-tech civilization can only encounter. And if you share the genes of a cosmic creature, it will also bring about a qualitative leap in the genetic technology of the entire Crimson Star. As for the small amount of population deaths caused by the other side's invasion, and the huge price in death that will inevitably be paid in the subsequent encirclement and suppression of cosmic creatures, what does it matter? The path of racial development, full of thorns and rugged, death is always inevitable. Negotiation, or cooperation, achieved smoothly. No useless treaties and restrictions were signed. There is no need at all. It is a win-win situation with mutual benefits for both parties." Return to Mars, Qin Tian flashed to the side of the Queen Mother. On one side, there lay Beth's body. On the other side, there stood 10 black dragon guards and a parasitic queen. Qin Tian took a look at the corpse. "Open the channel to the outside world." All the guards and the queen were sent out. Back to the outside world, Qin Tian ordered the newly summoned parasitic queen and 2 of the dragon guards to go to the Lingdan Pavilion. That was originally the property of a big family in Zhenbei country. It was successfully acquired by Fatty Xiong a few days ago. It was owned by the Bo family. In addition to the 2 alchemists, the original short and fat shopkeeper and his employees were all laid off. Fatty Bear also arranged new staff. It has been closed these days. This move can be regarded as a reception. This parasitic queen will be stationed in Lingdan Pavilion for a long time in the future. Refining elixirs, while spreading and building intelligence networks, it can also provide a stable source of income for the Bo mansion. Uncle. Outside the door, the original parasite queen number 1 walked in. Seeing her, Qin Tian rubbed his head subconsciously. Feeling a headache. Parasite queen number 1 is solely responsible for her own safety. The intelligence network is also the largest at present. I usually don't bother him. Once it appears, usually means something bad is going to happen. Tell me, what's the matter? My lord, Xiong Hanlin's identity has been discovered. Is it someone planted by an outsider? Yes. Qin Tian nodded. Not surprised at all. Human nature. In my heart, I didn't blame Fatty Bear for his betrayal. Who made him the closest person to Lord Qin? Many times, when the superior comes to you, you don't have a choice. Otherwise, I angered those people. The best outcome that awaits him is probably that his family will be uprooted. He was almost secretly purged. Have you found out who it is? Qin Tian asked. The palace. Qin Tian raised his head. This was beyond his expectation. But if you think about it, it's normal. Pingxi State originally belonged to someone else. What's wrong with assigning more manpower? Except for Fatty Bear, many of those servants were also the old prince's men. The entire Bo mansion, whose spy is whose secret agent. They were all clearly identified and classified. When Lord Qin was about to return to his fiefdom, following this line, then slowly call out the names one by one. Besides. Qin Tian frowned. Master, I have received news from the children that some forces are preparing to attack you. Qin Tian's breathing became stagnant. He noticed the vocabulary the parasite queen used. Some forces. Take action. Chapter 90. Outside the restricted area of Mars, the exit of the King Mu star space channel. Qin Tian floats high in the sky. The two-headed wolves, one-horned horses, and countless other tribes that originally lived nearby, the easy and relaxing life like a lazy fish is long gone. Where the eye is, they were all bloody killings and encirclements. Above the ground, the black tide formed by the killer war bugs is endless. The figures running back and forth, carve grooves in the ground. Small groups scattered everywhere. Sometimes divided and surrounded, sometimes they chase in a roundabout way. The centralized consciousness network allows them to coordinate almost perfectly. Drive countless groups of monsters into the passage. In the sky, the destroyer war bug transformed into a sharp arrow and flew rapidly. The body that shuttles back and forth, there were bursts of sonic booms in the air. Lightning fast speed, it became a luxury for the flying monsters to escape. In panic, he released a large amount of wood magic. After finding that it had no effect at all, they instinctively flew in panic towards the only open passage. I had planned to go to the fiefdom, I'll call the names one by one slowly. I didn't expect that, they actually dared to jointly name themselves first. Oh, there are really people who are not afraid of death. Qin Tian smiled coldly. Looking down into the space channel below, killer war bugs and annihilator war bugs are pouring out one after another. Compared with the initial, there are some differences between the two types of war bugs. Most notably, these are the tiny holes densely covered on their shells. This is an upgraded version of the Queen Mother evolution that Qin Tian ordered a few days ago. Specially built to plunder the origin of King Mu star. The main Zerg genes allow them to reproduce extremely quickly. The Ice Demon gene makes them basically immune to magical damage. The holes in the war bug's shell, and the cracked scales on the body of the devouring dragon, the principle is equivalent. But in order to reproduce first, the Queen Mother stripped away part of the Ice Demon's gene sequence. It can only make the two major war bugs immune but unable to rebound. The attack method is still mainly physical. In terms of combat power, it has not decreased either. On the contrary, it has improved a lot. There are 50,000 killer war bugs. The number of annihilator war bugs is approaching 100,000. Returned to Mars, Qin Tian glanced around. In sight, everywhere you look. The swarm of insects surges, Mercedes-Benz round trip, there is ultimate order amidst the chaos and bustle. A few days ago, under Qin Tian's will, the entire parasitic Zerg race completely entered a crazy machine-like operating mode. The only goal to point to, origin. Origin. Things are unpredictable. Plans can never keep up with changes. I wanted to postpone the acquisition of the origin and focus on evolving the clan. But some people force you to make changes. Flashed into the penalty area. Qin Tian looked at the Queen Mother's surging belly. Giant white eggs as tall as a person are being produced quickly. A human-shaped embryo can be vaguely seen inside. Also, in a tunnel, more and more fully grown black dragon guards continued to appear. They all walked towards an area not far away. There are already no less than 1,000 people gathered here. Outside world, within Hakufu, Qin Tian follows the routine of the past few days. After listening to today's enemy situation report, drive away the parasitic queen. He picked up the teacup and sipped it for a while. After a while, Fatty Bear, who had been away for 10 days, appeared outside the door. Master, these are the 4 ownerless planets that I purchased after traveling all over the country of Andong. It took quite some time, so I hope Master will forgive me. Thanks for your hard work. Qin Tian indicated that everything was fine. The kingdom of Andong is not like the kingdom of Pingxi. The control of unowned planets is stricter. Generally, domestic technology is not allowed to flow into other countries at will. Certainly, money makes the world go round. The 4 in Fatty Bear's hand, this is the result of his running around during this period of time. And, Fatty Bear's whereabouts, being under the surveillance of the parasitic queen at all times, except for one contact with someone from the palace, besides exposing his undercover identity, the rest of the time was spent conscientiously handling the tasks assigned by Lord Qin. Master, the 4 ownerless planets cost a total of... Okay, you don't need to report the price details. I trust you. You've been running around for many days, so go down and rest early. Qin Tian interrupted. Yes, thank you for your trust, sir. A trace of shame flashed across Fatty Bear's eyes. He hurried forward and handed over the brocade box containing the ownerless planet. When turning around, the body paused. Finally, he walked away. Qin Tian shook his head slightly. His eyes swept over the 4 brocade boxes beside him. The general process of Fat Bear's purchase of the planet and the planet's information. The parasite queen had just reported to him. Qin Tian took one of the brocade boxes. The box contains an accompanying brief history of the planet. Qin Tian picked up the brief history of planets and read it for a while. According to a brief history, this planet is a level 4 technological civilization. His name is Moxing. Intelligent races also belong to the human race. Leaning towards engineering machinery technology. I have a general understanding of it. Qin Tian sank into consciousness. Inside and outside the restricted area of Mars, it is still a busy scene. The area where the Black Dragon Guards are located. The number of people has increased significantly. It looks like a large and dense area. I hope I won't have to use it. Otherwise. Qin Tian glanced at it. These people are just being prepared. Prepare for the worst. Or, it is a desperate retreat. Communicate with the outside world through the mock star crystal ball, the space channel was opened. Qin Tian floated directly in. Not like the Scarlet Star, gather the swarm to show your strength first. Then bring it to the negotiation table. Level 4 technological civilization already has the ability to colonize alien planets. Own at least 1 colony in this system. The killing on the planet was not enough to threaten them. This is the embarrassment of Qin Tian. No matter how strong the insect swarm is, no matter how many there are, what's the point if you can't fight your way into space and can't meet anyone? This is actually one of the reasons why he urgently needs genes from cosmic creatures. The other side of the passage. As soon as Qin Tian appeared, the whole person fell into a long-lasting daze. In front of me, there are no mountains or waters. It's a jungle of buildings made of steel. Some tower thousands of meters high. Some are even disc-shaped and reach straight into the sky. It may even have extended into outer space. The key is, Qin Tian didn't see even a single human. The whole world was dead silent. The first feeling he had was one of endless coldness. According to the brief history of the planet, the population of Mach Planet should have exploded. And it doesn't look like it's been through internal strife. There are no signs of war damage on the ground. It's very clean. There doesn't seem to be any pollutants in the air. Qin Tian recalled a brief history of the planet. Control the consciousness body to continuously float upwards to expand the vision. That is. Qin Tian looked to the ground thousands of meters away to the west. It was the only area within sight that was not covered by buildings. And the range is extremely wide. There are some huge covers on the ground that look like manhole covers. One after another. Most importantly, Qin Tian is by those manhole covers. Finally, a figure was spotted. Robot. Flying above the figure, getting closer, Qin Tian then discovered that it was not the human race he had imagined. Instead, it is a 2-meter-tall cold mechanical body. And the whole body is extremely smooth. It looks like a human-shaped creature cast from molten iron. The iron-colored face was devoid of any facial features. The neck is long and thin. The arms and hands were equally slender. Below, the robot was flipping over a huge manhole cover in front of it. Only, through the gap that is about to close, when I saw the piles of skulls inside, Qin Tian frowned. Raise your head again. Subconsciously, I looked at the countless manhole covers stretching out in the distance. He glanced at the robot that was leaving again. Blinked. So, the human race of this planet. It is very likely that the robot he created will be killed, exterminated. It has become a world ruled by robots. Just as Qin Tian was surprised. Suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps on the ground. More and more urgent, getting denser and denser. Qin Tian immediately floated up. The end of sight, a robot that is exactly the same as the one just now. They are pouring out of the originally silent steel buildings. Forming long lines, and quickly gathered together, gather a huge army of robots that almost occupies the entire field of vision. It's really a planet occupied by robots. Qin Tian sighed. Next second, he seemed to have thought of something. He turned around and glanced at the location of the space channel. He looked again at the direction where the robot army was coming from. Suddenly, I realized a possibility. Such a large number. Such a big commotion. Could it be that they want to counter-invasion of your own planet? Chapter 91. Tisk tisk. This reaction speed. It's far from being comparable to Scarlet Star. Qin Tian sighed slightly, looking at the robot armies that were rapidly gathering from all directions. At this point, he actually thought it was natural. The Mokster robots exterminated their own creators. It should have taken over most of the technology. Or it can be understood as, Mo Kexing, who is more interested in engineering machinery. The pinnacle of science and technology is the development of artificial intelligence. Machines rule the world. There is no interference or hindrance from humans. A group like the Zerg that has a unified network coordination. It will only make the technology of Mokstar develop more rapidly. At least. Development of the mother planet, it will reach an extremely terrifying level. This can be seen from the steel jungle everywhere. On the surface, it seems dead and empty. In fact, it is controlled down to the smallest detail. Maybe at the moment when the space channel opens, it was detected by Mokstar's artificial intelligence. And make a decision immediately. In the logic of the machine, but they don't have the complex emotional thinking and indecisiveness of the intelligent races. Only 0 and 1. Certainly, this is Qin Tian's understanding. Not all mechanical entities in the universe are like this. But I think it should be about the same. Based on this, when a space channel appears on your planet, face unknown threats from within the channel. Or passively wait for defense. Or take the initiative to concentrate your strength and attack. Obviously, Mokstar's artificial intelligence chose the latter. I was still thinking about how to get in touch with these cold machines. Now it's good. It saves trouble. Qin Tian turned and flew towards the passage. As for the worries. A planet without a creator, to invade a planet where a creator exists. It's a joke. Return to Mars. Qin Tian glanced downward. Will bursts forth, the swarm of insects near the passage immediately scattered. Clear a large area. Qin Tian is floating in the air. Look at the entrance to the passage ahead. I waited for a short while. A 10-man robot team walked out of the passage. Each person's arms were switched to gun barrel-like devices. The harsh climate of Mars has no effect on them. Their iron-like bodies made of a certain material also allow them to withstand the high temperatures on the planet. Their eyeless faces turned here and there, scan the Zerg creatures in the distance. Data symbols began to appear on the bald head. Seems to be conveying information. Investigation. Qin Tian smiled slightly. Slowly raise your right hand. Buzz. The origin of Mars is from the surface and then ripples out. The formed mist instantly enveloped the 10 robots, forming circular shields like those used when summoning Zerg creatures. While imprisoning them, it also cuts off the transmission of information. Boom. The robots inside immediately launched a counterattack. White beams of light shot out from the gun holes extending from the arms. But they are simply unable to penetrate the origin layer that covers them. It didn't even create a ripple. Seeing no effect, a group of robot arms flow like mercury. He quickly condensed and switched out long swords that flashed with energy. Bang! The long sword chopped out. It looks like a layer of energy like a thin film. But it remains motionless and indestructible. The origin is the core energy of a planet. In other words, it is the vast power condensed by the entire planet. It can even withstand the violent turbulence in space cracks. How could it be possible that some ordinary energy weapons could shake it? In midair, Qin Tian kept his right hand raised. I deliberately waited for the robots to struggle for a while. Then, gently squeeze your palms. The next moment, bang! The origin shield suddenly shrank inward. There is not the slightest hindrance. The spheres were originally 2 meters high. It shrank rapidly to the size of a wash basin in an instant. As the outer layer of source energy dissipates, the iron ball inside, which was squeezed to the extreme by the huge force, fell to the ground. On your own planet, the creator is invincible. The source of invincibility, it is the origin of the planet. Really? Just as Qin Tian expected. The dead robot did not receive any system prompts to obtain the origin. Plunder the origin, it is to extract the life energy of living organisms. These robots are nothing but lifeless pieces of scrap metal. After a while, another robot team of 100 people entered Mars through the channel. Qin Tian followed suit. Hundreds of strands of origin were separated and forcefully crushed. As long as the source is sufficient, he can then divide the original energy into thousands. More than a dozen teams of robots were destroyed in a row. From the initial team of 10, gradually, it grew to a huge scale of several thousand people. All killed instantly. A group of people came in and died in a group of people. A group comes in and destroys a group. Finally, another legion of more than 10,000 people was lost. Mockstar's artificial intelligence did not send any more robots in to die. Mainly, it has no effect. Death has no deterrent effect on emotionless machines. Enter. Qin Tian's gaze shifted to the distance. The order was conveyed. A black dragon guard who was dispatched by him in advance, walk over and enter the space channel immediately. On the other side, the robot army surrounded the entire space channel in the middle. Everyone's arms turned into weapons and aimed at the exit of the passage. With the appearance of the black dragon guards, they gathered again. This. How should we communicate? Qin Tian followed behind the black dragon guards. He looked at the lifeless mechanical group in front of him with a headache. The communication of consciousness that has always been successful, it completely loses its effect here. The fluctuations of consciousness that had just been transmitted. As he expected, what came in return was dead silence. As a last resort, Qin Tian can only possess the Black Dragon Guard. In the human language of Lan Yang Star, try speaking in words, I am here to seek cooperation, I have no hostility. However, to Qin Tian's surprise, as soon as the words came out, then one of the robots took a step forward. A series of data flashed quickly in my head. It's like analyzing and deciphering. After a while, an intermittent tone of the cold Lanyang Star human language sounded, Mock Planet, does not welcome, humans. Otherwise, die. Chapter 92. Certainly. In your eyes, humans are an inferior race. Qin Tian looked at the robot in front of him. Let the Black Dragon Guard speak. This was evident to him when he saw the piles of skeletons under the manhole covers. The thinking logic of these robots has been basically determined. Before the Mox created artificial intelligence, there will certainly be many restrictions. To prevent artificial intelligence from developing too rapidly and getting out of control. For example, the 3 laws of robotics that Qin Tian memorized. But there are no absolutely perfect rules in the world. It seemed perfectly controllable at the time. It is just the logical limit of what an intelligent race can think of. Developed to a certain extent, this will inevitably cause the existing contradictions to gradually emerge. Ultimately infinite magnification. When artificial intelligence breaks through this cognition, when we are deeply trapped in the laws set by the human race, they will conclude that the existence of the human race has seriously hindered their own development. Purge will be inevitable. This is probably the case with Mockstar. In the logic of artificial intelligence. In addition to the innate advantage of intelligence, humans also have good for nothing. There are too many flaws in my body. These defects, let them judge that humans are an inferior race. It has nothing to do with the level of civilization. Even if a human race that has developed into a multidimensional civilization stands in front of them. Nor will they change this judgment. They will only think that the gap is caused by different development times. So, they don't welcome an inferior group. It was within Qin Tian's expectations. But, my race is not human. But, Great Zerg. Qin Tian controlled the Black Dragon Guards to slowly open his arms. The next moment, squeak. Waves of violent roars suddenly came. In the passage behind, the figures of war bugs shuttled back and forth rapidly. The manic and ferocious body is clearly visible. After that, the Black Dragon Guards lowered their arms. The hissing sounds disappeared in unison in an instant. Opposite, the data stream on the robot's head continued to flash for a moment. He then raised his right arm and switched out a searchlight. Scan the dragon's guards up and down. It seems to be testing the body structure. Got the result, the data in the robot's head flickered slightly. The message goes, the leader needs to know your cooperation. Oh, has the leader finally appeared? Qin Tian's consciousness, which was above the dragon guards, smiled. Dealing with these robots. Must get the other party's recognition. At least bring them both to the same position. The universe is so big, there are countless different species of creatures. But there are very few who can truly enforce orders. Except for the mechanical group in front of us. All Qin Tian could think of was his own Zerg. The two are very similar. There is a group network that concentrates individuals. Hunting a cosmic creature whose body is the size of a star. Qin Tian replied. The robot's head began to flicker again. But this time there were no flashes. The leader agreed, to meet with you. After delivering the message, the robot returned to the team. At the same time, all robots put away their weapons. Two of the rows collectively turned around and took a few steps back. Make way for a path. The end, it's the giant disc-shaped building that reaches straight into space. Walking into the building, the first thing Qin Tian saw through the dragon guards was, it's the huge screens on the walls. The entire interior is taken up by the screen. It stretches upwards so high that you can't see the top. Dense data flowed rapidly on the screen. A robot faces the screen. Or standing on the lowest ground, or it may be suspended in the sky layer by layer with some kind of kinetic energy. From time to time, reach out and operate on the data stream. No wonder there are so few robots outside. No wonder I couldn't hear anything. It turns out that it's all working in the building. Qin Tian looked at the surrounding scene in some astonishment. Along the way, the number of robots seen, far more than the huge army that previously surrounded the space channel. Each robot is processing the data on the screen in front of it. There was dead silence, without any sound. There is no need to make any sound to communicate. Data interconnection allows them to communicate seamlessly. There is not even a trace of curiosity. Along the way, from beginning to end, not even a single robot turned around to take a look at the dragon guards passing by. A group like this. It is countless times more terrifying than the Zerg. Once it develops. Qin Tian shook his head. Even the most powerful warriors need to rest and eat. It is impossible to devote every moment to hunting. This mechanical group, but you can do it without eating or drinking and without wasting a second. Follow the two robots leading the way in front, came into a small room. There was already a robot waiting inside. The overall appearance is no different from other ordinary robots. Nothing special about it. Same smooth shell, the same slender body. Are you the leader? Yes. I want to know, that cosmic creature. The other party got straight to the point without any nonsense. Qin Tian did not dwell on the identity issue. The robot race is not like the human race. The status and identity of a person can be seen from his appearance. Their differences, the main difference lies in the inner difference. Qin Tian controlled the magic dragon guards to scan the room. There were no chairs. I could only stand and continue, but the prerequisite is that I must first understand your level of civilization, such as the number of colonized planets or interstellar fleets. We have already completed the colonization of 8 suitable planets in our galaxy, and 598 complete interstellar fleets. We will assemble the first interstellar mothership in 17 days, 8 hours, and 29 minutes, and will have the ability to sail in distant star regions. At 29 days and 0 hours, we will try to leave our galaxy and head for the extrasolar star region. Level 5? Qin Tian was stunned. Out of this galaxy, start exploring extraterrestrial space. It is the symbol of the 5th level of technological civilization. He remembered that the Parasite Queen had made a report. Mach Planet was the first planet purchased by Fatty Bear. It was probably 6 days ago in the outside world. Fatty Bear deliberately lowered his consciousness to check it before purchasing it. The payment was made only after confirming that there was no discrepancy between the planet's development and the brief history of Mach Star. Follow the brief history information. At that time, Mach Star was still under the rule of the human race. There is only one colonized planet. And it was colonized not long ago. That is to say, 6 days outside, just 6 years on the planet. The robot race on Mach Star not only exterminated the entire human race. It has actually developed to the point where it is about to enter the extraterrestrial world and reach the 5th level technological civilization. But, want the terrifying numbers and tireless efficiency of those robots out there. Plus there is a colonized planet as a foundation. What remains is primitive accumulation. Qin Tian suddenly felt that everything was taken for granted. That cosmic creature lives in the outer space of my home planet. It is very powerful. I can provide space channel support, and you need to provide a fleet to hunt it. We have never come into contact with cosmic creatures. We cannot calculate the chances of hunting them. We will not take any risks. Oh. Qin Tian narrowed his eyes. Staring at the robot leader in front of him, laughingly said, "Then why did you waste your time meeting with me? Actually, for your group, the moment I agreed to meet, you have already decided to cooperate with me. Isn't it?" Chapter 93. The robot leader fell silent. The fact is just as Qin Tian said. He couldn't refuse. Logic would not allow him to refuse. Soon after, the interstellar mothership will be built. His people will go to explore the unknown star regions outside this galaxy. Unknown dangers, it will also appear. Prior to this, the intelligent brain has calculated it countless times. Deduced countless possible dangers. One of them, it is the threat from cosmic creatures. If you can before departure, or postpone your departure time. First, take a cosmic creature as the object for actual combat training. In the future, if we encounter similar cosmic creatures in the vast star field, they have experience in coping. It can increase the fleet's survivability by at least 10%. This is also when the leader learned about the content of Qin Tian's cooperation. Logical reasoning immediately led him to agree to the meeting. "I agree to your cooperation. Our conditions?" "No, you are not qualified to make any conditions." Qin Tian controlled the dragon guards to raise their hands. "You just need to expand the size of your warships at all costs from today on. To deal with that cosmic creature, we need a huge number of warships. In addition, 4 more technological civilizations will join. It may be the inferior human race you identified. But I hope you can give up your prejudices and discrimination. Work with them for now. At last, you are free to disagree. It's your freedom, isn't it?" The negotiations went smoothly. The greatest feeling Qin Tian got from coming into contact with the mechanical race was, they are extremely rational. Choices of 0 and 1. Compared to being suddenly attacked by cosmic creatures in the universe in the future, causing huge losses, even entire huge fleets were destroyed as a result. Unite several races and civilizations to try to besiege a cosmic creature to accumulate combat data. It is undoubtedly the best choice. Leave Mach Star. Qin Tian communicated with 3 other technological planets separately. These 3 planets are all level 3 civilizations. One is called Terran. One is called Morton Star. The other one is called Sophia Star. The level of civilization is not much different from that of Crimson Star. There aren't many warships. There are no colonized planets. This means having no scruples. The killing on the planet is enough to threaten their survival. Under the pouring swarm of insects from Qin Tian, pull it to the negotiating table in a semi-threatening manner. In the end, it was successfully completed in a win-win cooperation manner like Scarlet Star. Whether it is a civilization that focuses on genes, engineering, or mecha, a cosmic creature, they are extremely valuable research objects for them. Most importantly, Qin Tian agreed to provide them with technical support in the development of warships. Technical advisor, of course it is the Mach Star Mechanical Clan, a level 4 technological civilization. Qin Tian ventured to open the Leon Star space channel. Let the 5 tribes see the existence of that cosmic creature with their own eyes. It was confirmed. A cooperation meeting of the 5 major technological races, under the leadership of Qin Tian, representatives from various factions met on the Crimson Star. The specific content of the meeting, and how the mechanical race helps the other 4 races develop warship technology, Qin Tian was not interested in knowing. I didn't attend either. Just like what he said to the leader of the mechanical race. Hunting space creatures, he is only responsible for providing a space channel for warships to pass through, rather than participating in the action. After all, the attack of that cosmic creature. But it will harm the consciousness level. Thousands of miles away from the restricted area of Mars. Qin Tian opened the space channel where the 5 major technological races were located. Spread out in a triangle shape. No more closing, it will facilitate the 5 ethnic groups to enter and exit for cooperation in the future. At the same time, 100 black dragon guards and 1,000 whip-tail dragons were dispatched for supervision. People from the 5 races are prohibited from staying on Mars. Done all this. Back and forth, Qin Tian was busy on the planet for several months. But fortunately, everything is stable now. The plan was going as he had imagined. 1 month outside, 30 years on the planet. How many warships can the 5 major races develop? Will it be possible to ultimately rely on the numerical advantage of warships to harm the cosmic creature and obtain its genes? It's no longer something he can control. At present, what he can do, that's all. Regardless of when the Four Kingdoms War begins, it was the little money left in the Beau's house. Not enough for him to do more. If the plan fails, he can only wait until he has accumulated enough wealth. You can buy more high-level technology planets. Then go and attack that cosmic creature. Anyway, that gene won't be running away anytime soon. Back to the restricted area. Qin Tian came to the nest not far from the Queen Mother. Inside, there are densely packed eggs that are as tall as a person. Inside is the embryo of the Black Dragon's personal guard. Some are just formed. Some are as big as children. Others are about to finish growing. Humanoid eggs, unlike other war bugs, the larvae first break out of the shell and then eat and grow. It can grow directly inside the egg. The nutritious liquid in the eggs is enough to sustain them until adulthood. Took a look around. Qin Tian dodged to a neighboring nest. Here is also a batch of human-shaped eggs. But it is different from the previous nest where the Black Dragon guards were stored. Each egg inside is wrapped with an origin layer, used to protect the organisms inside. Through the origin layer, some humanoid creatures that are almost adult can be vaguely seen. Count the days. According to the time on the planet, the distance to adulthood, it will probably take more than a year. It's equivalent to one day in the outside world. Almost. After observing for a while, Qin Tian exits consciousness. Coming to the hall, invited the number 1 parasite queen. Has the date for departure for the fiefdom been set? My lord, it's settled. 3 days later. Qin Tian nodded. Following the usual practice of the past few days, he asked again, what about those people? Are there any changes? Just like the previous period, there are no changes. Their plan is to start on your way. Where are the manpower? There is no increase or decrease. Excluding those ordinary assassins, there are 46 creators in the 6 forces, including 8 from Zhenbei, 9 from Jingnan, 11 from Andong, and 15 from Pingzi. Among the remaining 3, there are 2 from one family and 1 from the other. The creatures summoned by the creators of the 2 families are the weakest and can be ignored. The other 4 countries are very strong. I have not yet found out clearly, but according to my repeated observations in the past few days, their trip should be just a test, and they have no real intention. Okay. Qin Tian waved his hand. Whether it's true or not, we can't be careless. How are our plans going? Don't worry, Master. The basic deployment has been completed. Well, I will start making the remaining moves in the next 2 days, hehe. Speaking of which, Qin Tian suddenly laughed. Looking up at the parasitic queen in front of him, he narrowed his eyes and said, forget about the big countries. 2 small families dare to set their sights on me. Them. Are you tired of living? Chapter 94. Capital City. The residence of the Inspector General of Zhenbei State. In the hall, 8 people were seated. There are men, women, old and young. They were all dressed in white gauze. Each of them has an outstanding temperament and is as ethereal as dust. The only person standing in the hall, he is the owner of this mansion. And he was servile and bowed his head with an apologetic smile on his face. Master Fan, is it really necessary to mobilize such a large army? One of the old men with long beard looked at Fan Yuxian who was standing in the middle and asked with a frown. It is ridiculous that we need to mobilize 8 of our creators to deal with a Wuanbo of Pingzi state. It's a complete waste of time. The immortal cultivators under any one of us can easily deal with it. Yes, just a mere creator of biological civilization. Humph, Master Fan, you should know what price our cultivators will pay once they take action. The other people also looked unhappy. A cultivator summoned by the creator of the immortal cultivation civilization. There is no doubt that it is powerful. Moving mountains and filling the sea is as easy as pie. But at the same time, there is also a very embarrassing problem. The spiritual energy in the outside world is extremely thin. It can even be called exhausted. It is very difficult for cultivators to absorb spiritual energy and transform it into spiritual power. However, using magic will consume a lot of energy. This causes the body's spiritual energy to be in a state of deficit for a long time. To this end, 100 years ago, Zhenbei Kingdom summoned many immortal cultivators to a certain place in the country. A large spirit gathering formation was set up. barely created a state similar to a paradise. The Zhenbei kingdom calls it a holy place. The immortal cultivators summoned by the creator of the immortal civilization, including himself, usually stay in the holy place. They will only be deployed when needed. A century of peace, these creators are rarely used. This is the first time that 8 people have gathered together like this. Certainly, these people all came here under orders from King Zhenbei. They are no longer dissatisfied. I dare not blame the prince. I can only vent my anger on the fat man in front of me. My lords, please calm down. This operation does not require all of you to take action. Maybe there's no need to do anything at all. Just in case. Fan Yuxian felt extremely bitter. He naturally knew that these people were using him as a punching bag. But I can only endure it. Who lets him be the high and mighty creator? And I am just an ordinary person with a little status. The identity of Wu Anbo, I'm afraid you all already know. He was originally the creator of the Zerg civilization. But they evolved into creatures comparable to dragons. Speaking of this, Fan Yuxian looked embarrassed. His expression seemed somewhat sad. Actually, someone who can sit in his position. How could he be a fool? How could he not know the principle of it is better to kill someone by mistake than to let him go? At first I learned that Qin Tian was merging with the Zerg planet. Giving up on trying to win over others was just an unspoken understanding between him and the inspectors of the other 3 countries. After all, they all received death orders. The only way for everyone to save their lives is to step down and not fight for anything. And he reported the details afterwards. It was the king of Zhenbei who ordered the secret observation. There was no movement from the other 3 countries either. It is probably a tacit understanding among the 4 princes. Otherwise, for a creator who knows no strength or weakness, it is not worthwhile to waste a lot of manpower by fighting openly and secretly. It is better to observe and see how the situation develops before making a decision. But now, the observation has concluded. So what? The old man with a long beard still said with some dissatisfaction, not to mention that he only summoned 1 dragon, even if he summoned hundreds of them like the demon did 100 years ago, what would that mean? Is he worthy of the 8 of us? The fact that Wu Anbo summoned 1 out either means that he is truly ordinary, or that he is deliberately hiding. Such a person is very dangerous, so we must test his true strength. When a person is forced into a desperate situation and his life is hanging by a thread, it is impossible for him to hide anymore. Fan Yuxian finished speaking. I was afraid that these gentlemen would misunderstand and blame me. Then he hurriedly said, besides, when I report to the prince, I once proposed a conjecture from an older generation. 100 years ago, that demon was able to summon hundreds of immortal cultivators with a wave of his hand. This only means that he can summon at least hundreds of people, but that is not necessarily the limit. Due to that person's sudden death, everything is unknown. Perhaps his extremely bad planet has an extremely abundant source, which is the opposite. Enough to support the summoning of tens of thousands of people. Same thing. If that Wu Anbo could also summon thousands or even more giant dragons. The old man with a long beard was stunned. The others also looked at each other. Those in a higher position will always know more information than ordinary people. The legend of killing the demon back then. It's just a beautification by the 4 countries to save face. In fact, the devil died suddenly. Otherwise, given the opponent's strength, the 4 countries may have disappeared in the long river of history long ago. The demon is so powerful, it mainly comes from the inexhaustible spiritual power of the group of immortal cultivators under his command. In the outside world where spiritual energy is exhausted, it's simply impossible. But it is said that every time he encircles and suppresses the enemy cultivators, he can be in the most peak state. Some people speculated afterwards. Maybe the origin of that demon's planet is vast and majestic. It is also possible that a method to obtain the origin has been found. In conclusion, the source is inexhaustible. When the spiritual energy of the immortal cultivators under his command is exhausted, they are sent back to the planet for replenishment. Then replace it with another batch. In this uninterrupted way, only then did he become invincible. Now, a character similar to the demon appears. And the creatures that have evolved have already shown differences. Even if he is not a powerful immortal cultivator. But what if you can summon countless dragons? For any country, they will all be a terrifying force that cannot be ignored. Most importantly, if the huge source supporting its summoning is not inherent to the planet. Instead, I discovered a method to obtain the origin. Just think of this. The old man with a long beard was moved and asked immediately, "When will we start?" Wu Anbo is on his way to his fiefdom, and we have received intelligence that the other 3 countries are also pursuing the same goal. Once we test Wu Anbo's true strength, we will be fine. But if he really summons hundreds of dragons, no matter whether we can use them or not, we must snatch them back to our country and find out the reason why his planet has abundant energy. Is it inherent or is there some way to increase it? The other 3 countries will definitely try their best to intercept him. Fan Yuxian raised his head. Take a look around. She stood up straighter. Slightly serious, "My lords, this operation is of great importance. It is very likely that the fundamental problem that has troubled the Creator for 100 years, the lack of essence in summoning creatures, has been touched upon. Fan is not hiding anything from me, except for the lords. Tens of thousands of creators and immortal cultivators throughout the Holy Land have received the king's order. Everyone stand by. If Wu Anbo is really different. We encountered too much obstruction from the 3 countries, tens of thousands of immortal cultivators from the Holy Land will be mobilized. Get this person at all costs. To this end, my king is even ready for an all-out war." Chapter 95. Bang! Inside the Inspectorate General's mansion of Pingxi State in the capital, a skinny old man slammed the table in anger. Why did the prince abandon such an important person? Could it be that the prince is too confused? "My lord, be careful with your words." Fu Wenhai, who was sitting at the bottom, at this point I had to bite the bullet and interrupt, "Your Majesty is very wise. This arrangement has its reasons." Fu Wenhai's words were not flattery. The king of Pingxi has a rather strong character. But without a single bit of brains, doing things on impulse alone, how could it have survived for 100 years in the cracks between the 3 kingdoms? I really don't see the reason. Even the skinny old man knew he had spoken out of turn. Sitting back in his seat angrily, but I still couldn't understand it and said, "A Zerg civilization evolved into dragon-like creatures. There are also infinite ratings and planetary environments similar to the 100 Years Demon. In my opinion, on the day he is granted the title, he should be recalled to the royal city immediately. If I could summon hundreds of dragons, it will definitely greatly enhance our country's power. One person can defeat 100 creators of the Warcraft civilization. Not to mention the method of obtaining the origin of the planet. If there is a 1 in 10,000 chance, we should never let it go. But what about the old prince? He actually sent that person to Wuhan County. That's all." Knowing that the other 3 countries are preparing to make a test, the creators of various countries have also been mobilized on a large scale. But the prince only sent a dozen of us stationed in the capital to keep an eye on it. If Wu Anbo is forced to summon hundreds of dragons, he will definitely not be a match for the other 3 kingdoms' creators. What can we do with just a dozen of us? We can't escort Wu Anbo back to his country even if we try our best. Fu Wenhai listened patiently to the old man's dissatisfaction. Wait until the other person has finished venting. Then he said, "My lord, let me ask you, if Wu Anbo summoned hundreds of dragons, what would happen?" "Didn't I just say that?" The thin old man frowned. He glanced at Fu Wenhai and said, "For this test, the creators of the other 3 countries have gathered together. If Wu Anbo summons hundreds of creatures, the 3 countries will fight to get them back. This is not just a question of whether Wu Anbo is powerful or not. It involves the fundamental acquisition of the origin. If Wu Anbo knows the method, once one of the countries knows about it, it will mean that the creator in the country will obtain an inexhaustible source of energy and can summon planetary creatures continuously. This is equivalent to completely overturning the current balance and breaking the pattern of division. If Daxia is unified, it will spread like wildfire. Originally, our country had the upper hand, and the flame of unification should have been ignited by our country, but Fu Wenhai couldn't help it. He raised his hand and interrupted the other party again. He opened his mouth and asked again, "Have you forgotten the strength of our country? Have you forgotten that the other 3 countries are watching closely? Would they be so stupid as to wait for you to learn the origin and grow stronger?" Faced with a series of questions from Fu Wenhai, the thin old man was startled suddenly as if awakened from a dream. The slightly excited emotions finally cooled down completely. Suppose Wu Anbo summoned hundreds of dragons, my king summoned him back to the royal city, I learned that the reason is the inherent abundance of the planet's origin, not the acquisition of the origin. Spread the word, would you believe it? How could the other 3 countries believe it? Who would risk the destruction of their country to distinguish the truth from the false? So, my lord, Whether Wuanbo knows how to obtain the origin or not. Which country gets it? Which country will become the target of public criticism? What awaits us is bound to be an attack from the coalition forces of the three nations. Any of the other three countries might be able to fight back against the coalition forces. But our country has absolutely no ability to resist. Instead of that, why not just throw the bones out? Let a pack of wild dogs come and rob us. The skinny old man listened in a daze. Then he looked far to the west in the direction of the royal city. He smiled bitterly, shook his head, and bowed, "Your Majesty is so wise. I admire you." At the same time, the other two inspectorates in the capital were also planning the same thing. Jingnan Kingdom is the same as Zhenbei Kingdom. The magic power in the outside world is scarce. It cannot meet the needs of magicians at all. There are also places similar to holy places in the country. The outside world is like a hodgepodge. There is all sorts of energy. But all energy is extremely scarce. And the country of Anton is also in urgent need of a large amount of origin. To summon more powerful and greater technological weapons. Wuhan City, it is the county seat of Wuhan County. The prosperity within it, it is even better than Linen City. After all, this place is close to the capital of Daxia where the four kingdoms are concentrated. It is also a must-pass place for merchants. There are also many families in the city. The most powerful among them is the Fang family. The family has numerous businesses. Almost everywhere. Especially this year, Fang Xiang, the young master of the Fang family, merged successfully. Became a creator of the Thunder Sculpture Warcraft civilization. It also brought the Fang family's power to its peak. In Wuhan County where the royal power was weakened, he almost became a local emperor in the true sense of the word. The civil servants sent by Pingxi state to govern were more like a decoration. No matter how big or small the matter is, all of them must be approved by the Fang family before they can be implemented. Within the prefecture, Fang Tianhong was checking the letter just presented by his subordinates. The body trembles slightly, the complexion is also slightly red. "Father, what's the matter?" Fang Xiang, who was standing behind him, couldn't help but ask. "A letter from the capital." Fang Tianhong put away the letter. "I didn't give it to my son." Instead, he narrated with a little excitement, "The four countries are preparing to test the true strength of Wuanbo on his way here." "Probing? Then, should we suspend the assassination operation?" "No. This is a great opportunity for our Fang family." Fang Tianhong took a deep breath. "Adjust your mood." Turning to Fang Xiang, his eyes flickered, "If the four countries start testing, there will only be two results. First, Wuanbo is equivalent to the demon from 100 years ago, which will cause the four countries to fight for him, and it is very likely that a national war will break out. Second, Wuanbo is just an ordinary man. As long as the four countries remain at peace, the war between the four countries will continue. If it's the former, our family can wait and see. If it is the latter, the giant dragon summoned by Wuanbo will definitely be killed by the creator of the four nations when he tests it. This is a godsend. The previous assassination plan was just an attempt. With the giant dragon guarding us, the success rate is not high. But without the dragon, he's extremely fragile. In the war between the four nations, Pingxi will surely lose. Wuhan County may fall into the hands of Jingnan or Zhenbei. My family controls Wuhan County, so we can wait for the price to rise. The position of county governor, even a title, is not a luxury. The Fang family will truly become the masters of this land. So, we must not let Wuanbo come to Wuhan County alive. Chapter 96. The day when the Lord set out for his fiefdom. Within Hakufu, we started to get busy early in the morning. In fact, this busyness started 3 days ago. First on the list, it should ensure the safety of your journey. It is originally most convenient to control the whip-tail dragon. But it is also the most dangerous. If attacked, sitting on his back was Lord Qin. It is difficult for a whip-tail dragon to retaliate. Final, I chose the old horse-drawn carriage. Large-scale multi-person convenient transportation in Shikoku. There are only the magic spaceship from Jingnan Kingdom and the multifunctional airship from Anton Kingdom. The other two countries are pretty much the same. Outside the Bo Mansion, dozens of carriages were lined up. A group of servants were busy moving things. After everything is ready, Lord Qin, dressed in black robes, walked out of the mansion. When I boarded the middle carriage, Lord Qin stopped. He looked at Su Jian, who came with his luggage and his family, in confusion. Uncle, I'm tired of staying in the Zerg Academy. I've been sitting in the position of dean for a while, but it doesn't seem that interesting anymore. If you don't mind, I would like to follow you from now on. I hope my uncle will help me. Su Jian cupped his hands and said seriously. Lord Qin was immersed in it for a while. No words, just nodded. It was considered as agreed. He stepped onto the carriage. Not long after, a large convoy of vehicles began to leave the Bo mansion in a mighty manner. Have a safe journey, sir. Farewell, master. People bowed and saluted from time to time on the street. Some civilians knelt down to bid farewell. Lord Qin would occasionally lift the gauze curtain and wave in response. Almost everyone in Linen City knows that the Earl is leaving for his fiefdom today. The Bo family did not deliberately cover it up. After leaving the East Gate, 1,000 soldiers who had been waiting outside the city for a long time immediately stepped forward. This is the guard team dispatched by the City Defense Office. They will escort the Lord to his fiefdom. Thousands of soldiers were scattered in front and behind the convoy. 50 black dragon guards with ghost faces followed closely on both sides of the Earl's carriage. Following him was Su Jian, who was riding the giant ice crystal scorpion. In the sky above, the huge figure of the whiptail dragon soared and circled. They traveled for 3 days. The journey was safe. There was no danger as imagined. Until noon of the 4th day. The whiptail dragon in the sky roared threateningly. The entire convoy stopped. Hundreds of meters in the air. The figure of Fanfiction riding a crane floated up and down. Obese body, a hint of pain appeared in the eyes of the crane under his crotch. On his side, it was the old man with a long beard who also rode on a crane, and the other 7 creators. What is different from the time when I was in the inspectorate is that behind each of these creators, there was a person dressed in white standing there. The man's spirit is elegant. The woman is like a fairy. Under their feet were various magical instruments that emitted flowing light and colorful images. His face looked ethereal, as if detached from the world. Dust in the sunlight, automatically stay away from scattering, as if the slightest contamination would be a blasphemy to it. In the air ahead, a mirror was suspended in the air, emitting a divine light. The rays of light that formed enveloped everyone. That dragon has such keen senses? Did it discover us? Fanfiction looked at the roaring dragon in his sight and said in surprise. Haha, how can a mere fool see through the illusion of the glass mirror? The old man with a long beard chuckled. Pointing to a distant area, my fairy servant told me, there were 15 people gathered there. It should be the creator of Pingxi Kingdom. The isolation magic released by their monsters was too low level, and was detected by that stupid creature. There are also 2 places where there are several to more than 10 people gathered. They are probably people from Jingnan country and Andong country. The old man with a long beard pointed at 2 directions again. This area of air seemed empty. In fact, it is overcrowded. Oh, by the way, there are 2 more groups of fleas behind that hill and in that woods. Did you arrange them? The old man with a long beard glanced at the ground. Look at Fanfiction beside you. No, it's not me. Fanfiction immediately shook his head. But I received news that in addition to our 4 countries, there are 2 more families with manpower. One is the Fang family in Wuhan City, and the other is the Wan family in the capital. Wuhan County is originally the territory of the Fang family, so it is understandable that they want to take over Wuhan Earl. The Wan family is quite interesting. What benefit would assassinating Wu Anbo bring to them? But it doesn't matter. Let them try their luck first. Maybe we won't have to do anything at all. Fanfiction shook his head and didn't care much. Then he looked at the carriages on the ground. Sir, do you think that Wu Anbo can really summon hundreds of giant dragons? I hope so. Yes, if we can learn the method of obtaining the origin from him, tens of thousands of cultivators in our Zhenbei kingdom will no longer be trapped in the Holy Land. When they come back, it will be the day when our Zhenbei kingdom unifies Daxia. Another high altitude. Fu Wenhai, riding an eagle-shaped magical beast, he glanced at the giant dragon in the distance that was staring at his area. He slapped his mount and flew backwards rapidly with a dozen people around him. The grey magic shield surrounding them followed them like a shadow. After exiting several hundred meters, a group of people stopped collectively. Sir, if Wu Anbo cannot summon other creatures by then, please ensure his safety. We must not let him die at the hands of those villains. He is, after all, the Earl appointed by my king himself. Fu Wenhai turned to the thin old man beside him. Don't worry, Master Fu, we will defend the prince's dignity to the death. The ground below. With the sound of dragon roar. Thousands of soldiers drew their weapons. 50 black dragon guards glanced around with cold eyes. Soon, on a hill and in a forest, groups of men in black armed with sharp blades rushed over aggressively. Ah! All the servants and maids screamed in fear. Although the skills of most or all of them are far beyond those of ordinary people. But faced with this scene, the external role does not allow them to do anything other than panic. They could not possibly know that they were actually like stripped quails, already displayed in the eyes of their own masters. Protect the uncle! Protect the uncle! Some soldiers moved quickly and surrounded the lord's carriage. Others split into two groups and actively faced the two groups of black-clad assassins. Kill! In a flash, the most primitive fierce fight, it started in this area. The sharp blade chops, blood was splattered. The sound of the wind from the weapons, mixed with screams of hurt, it began to ripple. From time to time, figures from both sides can be seen falling down. But there are too many assassins. The crowds were at least several times more than the guards. The fighting area quickly moved towards the carriage where the lord was. In less than a moment, the guards on the outside had to rush forward. Next, it's the black dragon guard on the inside. However, the guards who seemed mighty and cool on the surface, but it doesn't have the necessary fighting power at all. Even weak. After the fight, face to face, he was chopped to the ground by the assassin. The red flesh at the wound was turned inside out. The blood kept flowing. The mask on my face slipped off, several faces were revealed, some rough and some thin. Roar! In the sky, the whiptail dragon roared continuously. With flames in his mouth, the three whiptails danced and whistled. The body rushed left and right. But he couldn't get away from the surrounding area. It was as if he was trapped by an invisible cover. Roar! Far away, located on both sides of the hill and the woods. Several monsters roared over. It rushed straight towards the giant ice crystal scorpion that was the only one guarding Sujian beside the carriage. The two sides soon engaged in a battle. Swoosh the edge of the sky, a thunder eagle monster swooped down with a sharp roar. Crack! A bolt of lightning quickly formed in the air and then fell. He struck the now lonely carriage in the middle. Boom! Under the powerful destructive power of magic, the carriage exploded and broke into pieces instantly. In a cloud of flying sawdust, Qin Boy's body fell high up. It hit the ground hard and rolled far away. Chapter 97. As an independent county, 1/4 of the area of the vast Zhongzhou. This makes the territory of Wuhan County very vast. In addition to the capital county town, there are also more than a dozen acropolises, dozens of county towns, and many towns and villages. A huge geographical area, this resulted in a long border line. The border between Pingxi State and it alone is nearly 1,000 miles long. Linan City is located at the easternmost end of Pingxi State. It can also be called a border town. Leading to Wuhan City and the capital city further east, there is a wide and flat main road. People who do business, this is basically the route everyone takes. It is convenient, fast and relatively safe. But the narrow border usually means a long road ahead. Like a large spreading silk thread, eventually, they will all converge at Wuhan City or the capital. At this time, in a wilderness hundreds of miles away from the main road, a dozen men and women, dressed in rags and looking like refugees, were on their way. The word refugee, it may be unfamiliar to the four major countries. Although there is a huge gap in status between the lower class civilians and the creator in each country. But as long as you keep a low profile and don't be so stupid as to provoke others, the creator would not have nothing to do all day long, causing trouble and killing people for fun. A fairly harmonious environment. So that ordinary people can barely live and work in peace and contentment. And the land of Zhongzhou, it is a no-man's land. How can we talk about public security in the four countries without garrison soldiers? Except for the capital, county towns, and areas near some large cities. Other places are basically in a state of perennial chaos. There are countless bandits who occupy the mountains and act as kings. There are countless horse bandits who specialize in robbing business routes. After all, money that is stolen is always easier to get than money that is hard-earned. It's also more fragrant. In this messy situation, the resulting broken homes and displacement can be imagined. It is normal for some refugees to appear. A group of men and women were panting and staggering. Or, only the man in the front, his face covered in dust, walked with weak and tired steps. The others also looked disheveled and like miserable refugees. But pairs of sharp eagle-like eyes were looking around with vigilance and alert. Ahead, a small village gradually came into view. There are not many houses. There are only a dozen or so. Which stronghold is this? Qin Tian wiped the sweat off his face, which looked dirty because of the dust, stopped his tired body, looked towards the small village and asked. Replying to Lord Bo, this is the 274th stronghold. The parasitic queen, who was dressed in the same dirty village woman's clothes beside her, immediately replied. How far is it from Wuhan City? There are 382 more. Qin Tian nodded. With the support of the parasitic queen, he walked towards the village. In the village, there are only 5 villagers. 3 of the male villagers were strong and sturdy. The other 2 old men had sallow complexions and hunched backs. But he is tall and strong like a strong man. Especially in the eyes, there is not the slightest bit of turbidity that should be present in an elderly person. Instead, he looked energetic and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Seeing Qin Tian and his group coming in, the 5 people were speechless. Some brought out chairs, some took out the food they had prepared. There were 2 other people stationed outside the village to keep watch. Today is the 4th day, right? Qin Tian took the food and asked while eating. Yes, sir, it's about noon. The parasitic queen estimated the time and said. What about over there? Have a safe trip. They haven't started yet. Qin Tian was a little strange. For these few days' trip, he has been busy for some time. It's a bit exaggerated to keep your feet on the ground. But there was no stopping. No other, afraid of death. First divide into 2 routes. A bright line, a dark line. Even if the parasite queen knows the exact news, the other party was just testing and had no intention of killing. But Lord Qin would never risk his own life against the chance of the other party accidentally killing him. Some time ago, in addition to breeding a large number of black dragon guards, the Queen Mother also gave birth to a large number of black dragon guards. A group of ordinary humans were also evolved under Qin Tian's orders. Use origin capsules to protect these weak humans as they grow on Mars. One of them, in appearance, he is exactly the same as Qin Tian. He took the main road to Wuhan City in public. The remaining ordinary humans replaced the original Black Dragon Guards clones and the parasitic queen. Dark lines, this is the side road that I took. Set up a stronghold every few miles. There are hundreds of routes. It extends all the way to Wuhan City. Thousands of Black Dragon Guards were summoned in batches. All of them are scattered in these strongholds. At least 2 or 3 people, as many as 4 or 5 people. It can almost be described as a guard post every 5 steps and a sentry every 10 steps. Only this method, only in this way can we hide as much as possible and not attract attention in a large number of people. At the same time, safety can also be maximized. Certainly, the Black Dragon Guards that the Queen Mother gave birth to later, they all have different appearances and shapes. For example, the old people and villagers in this village. But, even with all the planning and arrangements, accidents are always unavoidable. Just when Qin Tian was eating, the sound of horse hooves suddenly rang out. Outside the village, a group of people were galloping towards us on horseback from the south. A group of Black Dragon Guards quickly gathered in front of the Lord. The 2 on guard also retreated immediately. Qin Tian sat in the middle. The body is tense. This route area, the Black Dragon Guards would clear the area around each stronghold in advance. Furthermore, all the strongholds along the way will be abandoned. The Black Dragon Guards in the stronghold will disguise themselves. The refugees formed groups on both sides of the Lord Bo. It was a circular protective formation. They marched towards Wuhan City at the same time. In principle, there won't be any fish that slip through the net and touch the core of the Lord. Most importantly, Qin Tian noticed the direction from which the other party appeared. South. That's the direction of the main road. Although that group of people were riding ordinary low-level mounts such as horses, it is unlikely that the creators of the 4 countries noticed something and came here. But what if? Buzz. Qin Tian looked slightly gloomy. A huge wave of will was instantly vented in the Zerg consciousness network. In just a few breaths, before the group of people came to the outside of the village, the sight is far away, swift figures began to appear one by one. And it keeps increasing. A perspective from the sky. There are countless figures running and galloping on the earth. Like a swarm of locusts, they were rapidly gathering towards the small village in the middle. Wow, there are so many people here again. I remember that this place was swept half a month ago. Ha ha ha, yes, that little girl was really pretty at that time. If it wasn't for the boss's preference, I really wouldn't have been willing to give her to anyone else. You bunch of pigs, do you know that this is our Qinglang village's territory? I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you go. There are already enough slaves in the village. Be more conscious and hand over the valuables on you. Hey, second master, one of them is a woman. Really? Plus that little girl, hurry up while I'm happy. Be quick. Otherwise I'll slaughter you bunch of pigs and dogs. A group of people stopped their horses outside the village. He pointed a steel knife at Qin Tian and others inside and laughed wildly. Hearing this, Qin Tian's body slowly relaxed. It turned out to be just a group of ordinary bandits. Qin Tian glanced at the parasitic queen beside him. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in his expression. Uncle, it was my negligence. The parasitic queen immediately bowed and confessed her guilt. The personnel arrangements on the route are basically coordinated by her in the consciousness network. So many small fish and shrimps appeared close to the uncle without being noticed and cleared away in advance. There wasn't even any warning. It is indeed a huge dereliction of duty. Be more careful next time. Qin Tian responded. I didn't go into it further. No matter how tight the protection network is, it can never be completely foolproof. Stand up, Qin Tian looked at the bandits with interest. Pointing at the ground beneath his feet, he said with a smile, the territory of Qinglang village. Your territory. Before me. You guys are worthy. How dare you? Chapter 98. Fighting, or slaughter. It didn't last long. In front of the Black Dragon Guards, a group of ordinary bandits are actually no different from a group of ants on the ground. Even at the moment of identifying these people, Qin Tian transmitted the order in his mind. The other Black Dragon Guards were rushing over from all directions. They immediately stopped their running bodies, turned around and returned to their respective scheduled routes. Bang! One of the Black Dragon's guards, who looked like an old man, threw a bloody head that had just been twisted off to the ground. The upright body is slightly bent, he returned to his original hunched and old posture. Qin Tian subconsciously glanced at the head. It was the extremely arrogant person who was previously called the second in command. His eyes were wide open. It seems like he died with regrets. Perhaps, he racked his brains but couldn't figure it out. Why do such a group of people with terrifying strength exist in this remote place? It is even more impossible to know, a great creator who is high above us, a dignified Earl of Pingxi State and the true master of Wuan County. Why are you here in this god-forsaken place? Uncle Qin sat down and continued eating. A group of Black Dragon Guards began to deal with the traces. The bodies were buried on the spot. After a while, the parasitic queen saw that Qin Tian was well fed and well drunk. He asked, Master, are you leaving immediately? She needs to communicate with all the nearby Black Dragon Guards in advance. To keep pace with the core team of Mr. Bo Qin Tian's will as the Master can descend upon the Zerg's consciousness cyberspace. Give orders or possess a person to investigate. But it will not form a single point of consciousness. No connection, it is naturally impossible for other Zerg creatures to sense it. So, either Qin Tian is constantly spreading his will and coordinating it in the consciousness network. Or you need a Zerg creature around you to act as a medium to pass on messages and keep things simple and hassle-free. For example, the Parasite Queen. Stay here for now. Specific circumstances, it depends on the situation on the main road. Qin Tian ordered a Black Dragon Guard to fetch water to wash off the disguise on his face. The creators of the four countries did not kill him in the end. The substitute is still alive. Only then can he continue to go to Wuan City to replace and come back to show up. Otherwise, if he died, how can the dead be resurrected? He has also thought of a way out. Find a small mountain village or a more secluded place to hide out for a few years. Only when you become strong enough can you come out without any worries. If you want to sweep across the four countries, it's better to find a safe place somewhere. It all depends on his will. But this is what Qin Tian least wants to see. You can be a great man and enjoy the quality of life better. Who would be willing to live in a dark corner like a rat that cannot be seen in the light? Uncle. The Parasite Queen suddenly spoke at this moment. The voice rose slightly. Qin Tian raised his hand. He sensed it too. Sinking into consciousness, enter the swarm awareness network. Qin Tian immediately possessed the substitute's consciousness light. The Queen Mother's evolved substitute and that group of ordinary humans. It can only be said that it is infinitely close to humans. Some inconspicuous core organ structures are still insect-like. Essentially, still a Zerg creature. Naturally, there are also points of consciousness that are unique to the Zerg. After a brief period of darkness, the vision in my eyes gradually became bright again. The first scene Qin Tian saw was just a violent pitching and rolling motion. Blown away. So cruel, but, the stand-in was not killed by this blow. Qin Tian controlled the avatar that fell to the ground to raise its head and move the perspective. I saw a burnt spot on the stand-in's arm. It should be the result of instinctively raising your hand to block the attack. He also saw a large number of black-clad assassins and the rapidly falling guards and black dragon guards around him. And the carriage in the distance that had been blown beyond recognition. Crack! In the sky above, a lightning magic quickly condensed. At the moment when the lightning strikes, Qin Tian saw a black dragon guard flash past the stand-in's sight. Blocked the magic attack for the stand boom. The next moment, blood rained down. Pieces of corpses continued to fall. The black dragon guard was completely covered in lightning. Directly smashed into pieces and fried into meat paste. Is this the magic that just attacked the stand? Qin Tian thought of the burnt black on the stand-in's arm. The carriage that the great uncle rides in must be extraordinary. In terms of protection and safety, it will definitely be greatly strengthened. Maybe this is the reason. This allowed the substitute to survive the previous lightning. Only my arm was slightly injured. In the air, soon, another bolt of lightning took shape. Another black dragon guard pulled himself away and flew towards the lightning. Thunder and lightning exploded, blood and flesh flew everywhere. The scene of risking one's life to save the Lord, in this area, appearing again and again. Before departure, Qin Tian once ordered those black dragon guards to protect the safety of the substitute at all costs. As a member of the Zerg, although they are as weak as ordinary people, but it also perfectly implemented the will from the master. Qin Tian stopped watching the tragic scene unfolding before his eyes. Controlling the avatar, lift your head. Look at the roaring whiptail dragon trapped in an airspace in the air. What a pity. If the whiptail dragon is on my side. It's much more reassuring on this journey. The Black Dragon Guard's combat power is only 30,000. Only by starting the sacrifice and burning life, the combat effectiveness will be increased exponentially. The maximum can reach 10 times 300,000. But it can only last for a few seconds. The Whiptail Dragon always has 200,000 combat power. Plus the flying advantage, it can indeed give people a great sense of security. But as a creature summoned by Lord Bo, if you don't stay by my side and protect me, I will suddenly disappear. Even if the stand-in looks similar to Qin Tian, it will still arouse suspicion. Roar! Just as Qin Tian looked up, an exciting dragon roar suddenly sounded. Probably noticed the look the stand was giving the Whiptail Dragon, perhaps he wanted to completely wipe out his hope of survival. A fairy sword emitting bright and dazzling light flew towards them at high speed. He slashed at the Whiptail Dragon in mid-air. Swish! The dragon's head separated in an instant. As the cage disappeared, the detached dragon head and the huge headless corpse, they fell down one after another. A cultivator from Zhenbei country. Qin Tian's face darkened. Immediately control the stand-in to look around. But nothing was found. The sky was empty. But this must be the work of an immortal cultivator. Very good. Today you kill one of my whip-tailed dragons. One day I will destroy your entire holy land. Qin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. Lost a whip-tail dragon, he wasn't terribly distressed. There are many more on Mars. If he wanted, he could multiply to an infinite number. But that whip-tail dragon was, after all, the first creature he summoned to serve as a companion. Just like that, not feeling sad doesn't mean not being angry. Now, he is indeed no match for those immortal cultivators. It can even be said to be extremely small. But in the future, countless Zerg creatures will be summoned or the queen will be hatched. No matter how powerful the immortal cultivator is, it will also be destroyed by the Insectoid. Chu the lightning eagle in the sky let out a sharp cry. No more lightning magic was released. The thin magical energy is not enough for it to be released endlessly. The entire huge body pounced down directly. The claws, sharp as iron hooks, attacked the stand lying on the ground. Bang! A black dragon guard flew over to block it. He was instantly slapped away by the wings of the lightning eagle. But it also caused the body to tilt. The fatal blow that was originally aimed at the substitute's head was moved downward, 5 horrific wounds deep enough to see the bone were left on the stand's shoulders. Steady your body. The Thunder Eagle was preparing to continue its attack. Several flaming fireballs suddenly fell rapidly. Smashed it hard and sent it flying. Presumptuous! You scoundrels! How dare you assassinate our country's Wuanbo? This is simply outrageous! With the voice, more than a dozen figures gradually emerged in the air. Fu Wenhai sat on the monster with an angry look on his face. Forced to the point of being seriously injured and about to lose his life, before they could summon hundreds of dragons as they imagined, then we can really confirm the fact that Wuanbo is ordinary. In a small village hundreds of miles away, Qin Tian broke away from the stand's consciousness and opened his eyes. No follow-up. Now that the people of Pingxi have appeared, this means that the test is basically over. We can continue our journey now. Qin Tian waved to the parasitic queen. He stood up and walked a few steps out of the village. As if thinking of something, he stopped and turned around and asked, by the way, does that lightning eagle belong to the 4 countries or those 2 families? My lord, I am from one of the families, called the Fang family, and the family is in Wuhan City. Oh. Qin Tian nodded. Immediately, look at the parasite queen. Seriously warned, we have arrived at Wuhan City, remember to remind Benbo, the first thing to do, just wipe out his entire family. Chapter 99. A few days later, Qin Tian reined in his horse and stopped in front of a small hill. The parasitic queen and a dozen black dragon guards also followed behind her, each holding a mount. Everyone looked exhausted. On the vast plain at the end of the site, it is a group of densely packed buildings. Almost endless. There, it must be Wuhan City. Qin Tian pointed to the vague outline of the city wall looming in the middle area of the building complex. Yes, sir. The parasite queen replied. In fact, they had entered Wuhan City 2 days ago. Today, the city it does not refer only to the small area enclosed by the city wall. It is centered on the city. A huge area that radiates far in all directions. In Qin Tian's cognition, the area of a county is equivalent to that of a medium-sized province in memory. The capital city, it is similar to a provincial capital city. For example, according to Qin Tian's understanding, Wuhan County can be called Wuhan Province. Wuhan City is equivalent to Wuhan City. The original ancient city, more like downtown. It is also the most populous and prosperous place. How long will it take for the substitute to arrive? Qin Tian retracted his gaze and asked. It will probably take another 10 days. So long. Qin Tian frowned slightly. But there's nothing I can do. The 4 nations finished their probing and turned their attention away from him. I don't have to worry too much anymore, I don't have to be as cautious as I was a few days ago. He rode the horses left behind by the bandits and galloped all the way. Even so, it also took more than 6 days to arrive. The substitute's side, Uncle was badly wounded, the personal guards and escort soldiers suffered heavy casualties. It takes time to treat the injuries and to deploy new guards. It will definitely be much slower. He looked at the city again. Qin Tian rode his horse and galloped. Head south along the edge of the plain. After half a day, the group stopped in front of a hill. At the foot of the mountain, standing there was the second parasitic queen sent by Qin Tian. Behind him were the 5 black dragon guards who were accompanying him and responsible for protection. Uncle! Uncle! The 5 people knelt down and greeted him in unison. Qin Tian waved his hand. Parasite Queen number 2 stood up, he led everyone to a villa on the mountainside. The villa covers a large area. But there are only a few houses. Most of the place is occupied by pavilions, towers, bridges and flowing water. There are also lush paths formed by blooming flowers and bamboo forests. It is not far from the city center of Wuhan City. Similar to suburbs. It was originally a place for a wealthy businessman in the city to relax. Now belongs to Parasite Queen number 2. As for the wealthy businessman, a black dragon guard brought washing utensils. Qin Tian simply wiped it, wash away the dust from traveling these days. Come to the living room of the villa. 2 parasite queens are waiting. Master, my child has completely parasitized the Fang family for a while now and can kill the entire Fang family at any time. Parasitic Queen number 2 spoke. The swarm can sense each other in the consciousness network. Between the parasitic queens blessed with wisdom, it can also achieve real-time communication and information sharing. The 4 countries and 2 families are trying to test and assassinate Qin Tian, the master. It was the second parasitic queen who first discovered this through the intelligence network she had established in Wuhan County. Then share it with parasitic queen number 1. Qin Tian's order in that small village a few days ago, parasite queen number 2 was apparently also shared at the same time. And before Qin Tian arrived, preparations have already begun. For them. The will of the Lord is above all else. My lord, I don't agree with this approach. The death of a large number of parasites may allow outsiders to discover the existence of the parasitic larvae. I suggest sending the Black Dragon Guards to assassinate them. Parasitic Queen number 1 objected. No, it won't be exposed. The slave can do it at the same time at night, let them die in their sleep, and then control my child to separate from the host. No one will find out. You can't guarantee that all the members of the Fang family will be asleep at the same time. At least we can eliminate most of them, and then send the Black Dragon Guards to eliminate the remaining ones. But a large number of unknown deaths will inevitably cause panic among people. I can spread my children to parasites on a large scale, suppressing and reducing their panic. You cannot parasitize the creator of the 4 kingdoms. The unexplained death of the Fang family will once again arouse the 4 kingdoms' suspicion of the Lord. They have no evidence. This will be bad for the uncle. Qin Tian squinted his eyes, watching the quarrel between the 2 parasitic queens with interest. This is the inevitable result of endowing wisdom. The intelligence gene of the parasitic queen, the human race from the blue sun star. Just like a newborn baby's innate intelligence comes from its parents' genes. The emergence of wisdom, it depends on many factors such as different personal experiences and growth environment. Gradually form different personalities and thinking. Parasitic Queen number 1 stays by his side for a long time to protect his safety. Thinking and doing things have obviously become more cautious and conservative. The parasitic Queen number 2 was raised outside. This results in a more radical and direct temperament. Uncle. Uncle. The argument was unsuccessful. The 2 parasitic queens looked at Qin Tian together. From the moment the Fang family set their sights on Benbo, their fate is doomed. The difference, by what means and in what manner? Qin Tian signaled the 2 to stay calm. But anyway, we all have to wait until the substitute arrives in Wuhan City. Benbo can only take action if he shows up. So, in the meantime, your most important task, it means to find out every member of the Fang family. There must not be a single fish that slips through the net. Benbo will not allow a resurgence of the dead. Even more, I cannot tolerate the cliché scenario that one day in the future, a remnant of the Fang family will endure and grow slowly, and eventually become powerful enough to come and seek revenge. Since we have decided to exterminate the clan, we must eradicate the roots of the problem. In this world, everyone has the opportunity to fuse a planet. This is equivalent to providing everyone with fertile soil for growth. Make everything possible, it's also simpler. What if some members of the Fang family were missed? His descendants were fortunate enough to merge with a planet for cultivating immortals. Summoned a powerful immortal cultivator. Even if it can't threaten me in the future, but the occasional assassinations are also a real headache. Okay, go down and do your work. Qin Tian defeated the 2 parasite queens. With his current power, to deal with a family, whether it is the parasitic queen's parasitic larvae, or summon out the thousands of black dragon guards that were about to gather around him. They can be killed with a snap of the fingers. The problem is, these powers cannot be seen in the light. Qin Tian shook his head slightly. As for creating a time difference, use uncle to destroy the Fang family before reaching Wuhan City. He had considered it too. But the key is that someone just assassinated you. In the blink of an eye, the entire family suddenly died? In conclusion, it was not easy to clear myself of suspicion. He didn't want to get into trouble over such a trivial matter. Let the 4 countries turn their attention back to themselves. We cannot use these dark forces. Okay, then be upright, use the power of the Bowmansion to beat him to death. Chapter 100. Over the restricted area of Mars, Qin Tian's consciousness gradually emerged. For the outside world to go to the fiefdom, he has not appeared on Mars for more than 10 days. It has been more than 10 years on the planet. But, the entire parasitic Zerg did not stop. It has been continuously developing in accordance with his will. Planet name, Mars civilized race, parasitic Zerg evolution stage, 4 generations of evolution population size, 768,549,642 planet origin, 654,214 auxiliary function, God level deduction. Qin Tian opens the system interface. I also checked the information of other branch species. After more than 10 years of development, the size of the entire ethnic group has increased to more than 700 million. Among them, there are more than 400 million killer war insects. The upgraded version's spawning efficiency is comparable to that of Baneling. Up to 4,300 coins per day. The growth cycle is also shortened to half a month. The number of animal fighter bugs has just exceeded 200 million. The number of eggs laid per day is only about half of that of the killer war bugs. The growth cycle also more than doubles to more than a month. As the main force to plunder the origin of King Mustar, the queens of the 2 major groups, Qin Tian bred 20 each. The spawning process is almost uninterrupted every day. There are 6 subgroups remaining. In addition to the 3 major dragon clans, the other 3 species, Qin Tian set a reproduction limit a long time ago. The number of destroyer bugs is limited to 10 million. There are 50 million lurker war bugs. The number of corruptor banelings is controlled at 100 million. There is no other reason. Food is scarce. Qin Tian originally thought that with the 6 planets of Wanshao Star, Liayan Star, Tuhuan Star, Shuiling Star, Fenjiao Star, and Jingguang Star as logistics bases, there would be no problem of food shortage. But no one expected that the new generation of species evolved by the Queen Mother, all unsuitable for hunting. One is too slow. A pure passive-aggressive type. The other was a complete suicide attack. Endlessly developing, they are simply unable to support themselves. That adds up to more than 100 million. They can only barely maintain a basic standard of food and barely achieve a balance between food supply and demand. When the killer war bugs and the annihilator war bugs plundered the origin of the Aoki star, the corpses left behind by the monsters driven to Mars, it can only meet the consumption of its own huge population. Especially as the number of magical beasts in large areas of the King Mu star space channel decreases. This leads to a gradual decrease in the expulsion efficiency. The food crisis of the 2 major groups will inevitably become increasingly prominent. I can still hold on for now. Don't worry about it. In the past 10 years, we have only obtained more than 650,000 origins. The average planetary time is less than 200 points per day. The gap compared to before is really too big. Qin Tian looked at the origin value helplessly. The magical beasts of King Mustar are extremely powerful. Each one can provide 0.02 to 0.05 points of essence. The vast majority remained above 0.04 points. In addition to the terrifyingly large number of people, when Aoki Planet was first developed, on average, more than 1,000 origins can be harvested every day. In just over 3 years, that is more than 3 days in the outside world. It received more than 1.3 million. It is precisely with sufficient original support that he then continuously summoned a total of 2,500 Black Dragon Guards from the outside world. More than 600,000 origins, summon a group of Blue Sun Star soldiers. That's quite enough. Qin Tian closes the information interface. Glancing in the direction of the Queen Mother. There are still more than 2,000 Black Dragon Guards left in the restricted area. But even if it is summoned, it cannot be used openly. He is in urgent need of some power that can be put on the table. Count the days. More than 40 days have passed since I helped the 6th prince seize the throne. It's been more than 40 years on the planet. Such a long time, would Xiao Liuza have passed away long ago? Or not on the throne? Or was it destroyed by someone? Qin Tian became slightly interested. The lifespan of ancient humans on Lan Yang Xing, 60 is almost the end of the road. But I didn't care much. What he wanted was to look exactly like the Daxia people. And the Blue Sun Star soldiers have higher combat power than ordinary humans evolved from the Queen Mother. As for the rest, for example, loyalty. The parasitic Queen's children are enough to deal with. The human race on this planet and the human race outside are summoned by parasitic control. The main difference is that the planet humans appeared in the outside world, there is no kinship or family ties. There is no power involved. Like a blank sheet of paper. They can only survive by relying on the Bow Mansion. Called a whip-tail dragon, Qin Tian opened the Blue Yang Star space channel and floated in. It was just dawn outside the passage. It should be in the morning. Qin Tian possessed his consciousness in the whip-tail dragon. Rise high into the sky and fly straight towards the great Yan imperial city. A few hours later, the huge imperial city gradually came into sight. Hee. This is the appearance of an alien species on a low-level planet. What is the impact? But it depends on the situation. Little Six should at least be able to secure the throne. In sight, statues of killer warbugs can be seen everywhere in the imperial city. Especially in a wide square in front of the palace. There stands a huge dragon sculpture with its wings spread out, ready to fly. It is very similar to the whip-tail dragon. There is a bronze tripod in front of the statue. The place is filled with smoke and incense. From time to time, civilians with their families would come forward to burn incense and kneel down to worship. Qin Tian looked at him for a while. Then he controlled the whip-tail dragon to descend rapidly. It fell in front of a hall in the imperial palace. Divine Beast. The Divine Beast has arrived. Quick! Hurry and report to His Majesty. The appearance of the whip-tail dragon, the entire palace was immediately thrown into chaos. Especially some guards guarding the hall. Seeing the huge body of the whip-tail dragon close at hand. Tremendous pressure, the endless fear it brought, they were so frightened that their faces turned pale and their legs couldn't stop shaking. Many of them entered the palace as military recruits after the peace was declared. I have only heard of the legend that a divine beast descended to help your majesty suppress the rebellion during that battle. Where have you really seen it? Not long after, an old emperor with white hair and beard walked out quickly, supported by eunuchs. Little Six. Not collapsed yet. But considering his age, I don't think he will have much time left. Qin Tian watched this scene from the perspective of the whip-tail dragon. I can't help but feel a little sad. Time flies and things and people change. In just a few dozen days of the Creator, but it is the lifetime of the human race on this planet. Below, the old emperor pushed away the eunuch beside him. The wrinkled face looked at the whip-tailed dragon in the sky. Complex look, it seems like a mixture of emotions. Like feeling satisfied that a wish has come true. That voice said it would come back in 10 years. He waited for 10 years. Every year is spent in fear and anxiety. Wait till you are about to be buried. He still couldn't wait for the other party to arrive. Everything, it was like a dream. As life is coming to an end. He suddenly had an urgent desire, I hope I can see each other again in my lifetime. Otherwise, is a defect, it is a great regret that has no beginning but no end. But as an emperor ruling a country, he really didn't want the other person to show up. Divine Beast? God? He doesn't believe it. The moment I saw those creatures, he never believed it. Beautification is only necessary to consolidate the throne. But anyway, the opponents are all very powerful. At that time, he could easily destroy the hundreds of thousands of troops of his fourth brother. Naturally, he could also easily destroy his seemingly powerful empire. You. Here it comes. The old emperor sighed. Put away your conflicting emotions. He knelt down tremblingly. Yes, I am coming. I'm here, to collect the promise made that year.
If you're enjoying the story so far and want to hear the next parts, don't forget to like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And if you'd like me to continue the series, drop a comment below letting me know. Your feedback and support keep these audiobooks going strong. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.